let me just say to you, welcome home to Talking with Famous People. That's right, when you're here, you're home. And does that make you feel happy? If so, you've got a variety of choices, subcategories of happy to choose from. Because I was just introduced to a little something called the feelings wheel. And it's quite remarkable, really. I don't think it's comprehensive. For example, somewhere under frustrated, which is under angry, there ought to be feeling unheard. That often is what frustrates me more than anything else. Here's the feelings wheel. It's nice and colorful, just like feelings themselves.
Hi, Capito.
Let me get my glasses on and I will explain the feelings wheel to you. Hi, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Cheers to you as well. So, your main emotions, according to this feeling wheel, are anticipation, happy, trust, fear, surprise, sad, disgust, and angry. So I might say, I feel frustrated and look on this wheel. Well, that's not in any of these things, but it's in the next level of wheel, see? So, okay, frustrated. I see frustrated is a subset of angry, as you can see right there. And so, okay, well, more specifically, what am I feeling? Vengeful, indignant, thwarted, or annoyed? No, I'm sorry. Frustrated only has thwarted or annoyed. But really, I feel unheard. I guess that could be considered thwarted. Yeah, probably it's thwarted. Maybe this thing is comprehensive. I don't know. Feeling critical, abrasive, biting. Why not helpful? Sometimes it's helpful to be critical. No, critical's got to be part of angry. And only expresses as either abrasive or biting. Disgust. Am I feeling contempt, repelled, dislike, or disapproval? And let's say I'm feeling contempt. I'm either feeling envious or that the thing is detestable. According to this feelings wheel, I'm not sure if there are other feelings wheels that have it parsed out differently or not. I
They
haven't
might. There might be.
I haven't researched all the varieties of feeling wheels. This one has a problem of switching between nouns and adjectives willy nilly.
Oh, let me try to find another one.
Okay, like eager is not a feeling; it's an adjective. Whereas like happy, happiness, or happy is a feeling. Happy is an adjective, but it should all be in noun form or they should all be in adjective form. One of the two. Instead of flipping back and forth willy nilly. The first feelings wheel you brought up, I think, was.
That was the first
Oh,
one.
that was the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Uh,
I could feel you're wet. Yes, you went out in the rain. Raindrops kept falling on your head. I'm feeling. What are you feeling right
there's so
now?
many different kinds. I don't know which one to choose.
Which feelings wheel to choose is a real conundrum. Who's right about the feelings?
Okay, I like this one because I let's see if this one works for you.
All right. So in this one here, the core emotions are anger, sadness, surprise, joy, love, and fear. All right. So let's say I think I'm feeling frustrated. Well, according to this, frustrated is a subset of exasperated, which is a subset of anger. And so on this one, frustrated is the lowest level. I mean, the most. It's the least frame. It's the most case level. Um, Sadness. Let's say I'm feeling sadness. Well, one possible subset of sadness is sadness again. So
Okay, I
I
need to
could be
fucking get another
sadness
one.
and then sadness.
No, that can't be. That's not
Like
right.
one subset of sadness should be loneliness, but it's not
Yeah.
here, right? Reacted carrot to you are something like that. You had a little message pop up.
Oh,
Hi, Danger Chris. Double sadness, right? On that feeling wheel,
double
on
sadness.
that feelings
Yeah.
wheel, you can have double
All right.
sadness.
We need professional grade.
I'm sure somebody's made a pretty optimal feelings wheel, but I don't think we found it yet. I like the concept a lot, though. It parses your feelings like a TI parsing. It says if you are feeling frustrated, then you have two possible sub choices, and that's it. It's a very TI approach to FI. Well, the nice thing about parsing with FI is that you're not making any claims about mechanical relationships, right? You're not saying there's a logic or reasoning why, say, loneliness falls under sadness rather than anger. It's just observationally so. So, And it seems to me that both Rachel and I would find such a thing helpful in being more able to identify exactly what we're feeling. Although I do believe that I've gotten much better at at paying attention to feelings because of SI uh, and its relationship with things that are traumatic. So because I had some very intense feelings episodes within the last couple of years, I think I'm more likely to get up and kind of check my feelings. And I'm also much less likely to say blame my negative emotional state on Rachel. So I have grown in the area of FI. It doesn't mean I've become better at the cognitive function. That would be a misunderstanding of this. It just means that I've learned to adapt to the deficit better.
Let's see if this one is better. Wait, is sleepy?
Sleepy is not an
As,
emotion.
these wheels are just like I want a good one.
All right. Well, let me
Yeah,
turn on the TV and I'll see if I can find it on the computer.
Yeah, that's easier.
We're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. So you don't need to lock it up or anything, okay? We've decided to agree that stealing your shit is bad. All right, so let's look over here at the computer for a feelings wheel that we can all get behind. My feelings wheel that really makes sense. I mean, sleepy is a feeling, but it's just an SI feeling. We do tend to use that term to refer to both kinds of feelings. But it's important that the emotion wheel only focus on one kind of feeling, or else it's not useful. So, feelings wheel. What is the best feelings wheel? Robert Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions is a highly regarded option due to its strong. All right, let me look for that one. Oh, wait, there's a picture of it right there. Visit. All right, so here's Plutchik's Wheel of Emotion. So in Plutchik's Wheel of Emotion, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, 8. You have 8 top level emotions. But I don't understand. This one isn't organized quite the same way. Like, awe. What?
That's not a good one. That's not a good one. We need a bigger one that's more. Hmm.
Now let's see about this one. So in this one, we've
See,
got
but bad. I don't like that. I don't like that. One of the in
feeling
purple it says
bad.
bad. Yeah.
Oh, well, that covers SI stuff. Tired, stressed, busy. What
Okay.
does that say? Bored?
Yeah.
Well, I agree though that bad's a
Right?
weird choice.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to this Reddit thread and see if we can find another option. This is like a test. Okay.
Huh.
How are you doing today? Good. Until recently, I would always answer the question, "How are you doing?" with one of those options. I just listed okay, good, not so good, or my favorite, busy. But then things started to change. Stress, pandemic, violence, identity grief, and loss. I started to experience panic attacks, depression, and anxiety. Well, I know all about that. So I got my butt into therapy, where they don't let you off the hook with answers like, I'm okay. My therapist suggested I use a feelings wheel to help improve my emotional vocabulary. Now, what do you mean by good? Um, Creative, I guess. Interested? Interested, maybe.
That you, yeah, I would say interested. You are.
Today I'm feeling either interested or creative.
Mm.
I'm kind of.
You were
I guess
working
say
on these
creative.
before.
I guess I'm gonna say creative
Okay.
than interested. Who knew you can feel more than one feeling at once? Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett calls this emotional granularity. The more specific we can get, the more easily we can identify what our body is telling us it needs. All right. We're feeling creative. What color is it?
Mm. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of orange. Like there. Okay, Katie. Now's not a good time for you to come here. Just, I don't need your little narrative, huh? So just go ahead and give me the next thing. So I had a new element to my practice tracking how my feelings show up in my body and facial expressions. I would draw an outline on my body and then color and make notes about where I felt each feeling. When I feel frustrated, it looks like this. You want to see what she's saying? I'll show you guys. I'll show you the screen rather than me. You can just hear me reading it. Okay, your turn. Take a moment to pause and notice your body. Start at the topmost part of your body and scan down through your center out to the edges. Make a mark on the diagram on the right based on what you notice. Like what color in different parts of my body is? Um, well, I guess I feel like my heart is green. My heart is green. My head is orange. And I feel like my lungs are light blue. put that there. Okay. Now I'm done. Done. I started to notice some patterns in how the colors I was using lined up with how and where the feelings showed up in my body. From there, I could track that to some patterns of what my body was trying to ask for. So this picture shows, like, if she's feeling orange, she needs to express herself. That's interesting, because I guess that's what I associate orange with too. Unless they used my answer to make this, I don't know. But the other ones, yellow is joy, green is disgust. My green isn't disgust. Blue is sadness. My blue isn't sadness. Red might be anger. Purple would be, maybe purple is scary. Is purple scary? Does purple scare anybody else? Everybody's different, and they are the source of so much information. It can be overwhelming to know what to do with it all. I started to practice connecting my feelings to my needs by asking myself, what does my body need in this moment? Let's see. Do any of these seem like something your body might be asking for? My body? Well, definitely this one. I mean, this might be the case. To ground in the present and wiggle my body to slow down. My body might be saying that. My body might need to discharge energy or want a snack. Oh. Why won't you click those ones? You don't want to click those ones.
That's a weird because you can choose up to 5. You already got 5.
Alright, well then that's the 5 I got. Okay. I ended up burning all this into my own emotion wheel. These are the words, the colors, the body diagram, and the needs chart to better understand and express how I'm doing each day. So for this lady, she's got 6 core emotions. Disgust, joy, genius is not an emotion. Anger, sad, and fear.
What?
Well, actually, I mean, motivation to create, you could consider an emotion, I guess.
Genius is not an emotion.
No, it's not. But
I don't feel genius.
is motivated an emotion?
No, I think emotions motivate.
You think emotions motivate? They aren't themselves. Motivations themselves are not.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got all this way though, so.
Yeah.
And look at the outside even has it. So like rage, courage, intuition.
Oh, I see. So that reactivity and rage cover the reds.
Mm-hmm.
Courage and intuition cover the oranges. Liberation and dignity cover the yellows. Guilt and aversion cover the greens.
Mm-hmm.
Shame, vulnerability cover the purples. Isolation and grief cover the blues. Okay, so what I was feeling today, I'm going to go ahead and replace genius here with motivated. They put motivated here, but, or creative, let's say, which is not an emotion, but
Creative.
whatever.
Yeah.
It does stem from generally having a positive emotional state and feeling interested in things.
Yeah, sure. I can't read what those.
Okay, so we'll start with this one, and then I was feeling challenged, confident, creative. What does that say? Focused, unique, like myself, interested, alive. I was feeling like myself and interested and creative. Agency, curious, and I would say in flow rather than brave or wonder. But, not a terrible feelings wheel, I guess. I no longer answer the question, how are you doing, the same way, and I hold other people's answers with more tenderness. How are you doing? I'm okay. In difficult moments, I have some tools to pause, more tools to pause. I ask myself, what word is this? What color is it? Where do I notice it? What is my body telling me it needs? I try to do this most days in my sketchbook. These are some of my drawings. Okay, well, good for you. This is a nice little web page you made. I'm impressed by your web page.
It makes it fun.
Yeah, you did a great job. I hope you feel flattered by my praise. Is that on is that on your wheel? Is that on your wheel? Is the question.
That make you feel happy? Yeah, it is on your wheel. That was.
That one, it doesn't. I don't like that one. Okay, so even though AI says that's the best one, supposedly, I'm gonna bring up the chat now on the big screen so I can see it, and
we can figure out everyone's emotions.
yeah, we can figure out everyone's emotions. I think we could probably figure out a more optimal feelings wheel as well if we wanted to.
Okay.
Like, what are the core emotions that people have?
So anger,
Guilt,
fear, guilt. Those three.
Yeah, and then
happy. Joy. Is that a main happy?
Anticipation, happiness. Maybe you put curiosity instead of anticipation. Curiosity, happiness. I'm not sure if curious is a feeling or not, but I think it probably is. So we've got anger, fear, shame, curiosity, happiness,
and sadness.
Sadness. Six core emotions, I think. When are we getting a small talk expansion pack? You know, that's what these feeling wheels are. It's a small talk expansion pack. Because you can talk to anybody about the feelings wheel. Unlike the kind of things that you and I normally talk about, Rain, everybody can talk about feelings.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have any disagreements because, after all, anybody can feel any different number of feelings at the same time and without any contradictions and etc. I think you need to put a color when you feel and think about it. I don't think I need to put a color. I think the color is extraneous. I really don't think it needs a color. I think we can do this just with words. So we're going to put our 6 emotions. There are 4 bad emotions and two good emotions.
That's not good.
So is curiosity is different from anticipation. I think anticipation and curiosity and happiness make 7 total core emotions.
Okay.
And it's good to have 7 because it's a prime number. Everybody loves a prime number. And because things so naturally divide into 7. There are not more than 5 primary colors, yet in combination they produce more hues than can ever be seen.
But white and black are shades.
Can you imagine telling some 45-year-old guy named Nigel in a business suit about your color wheel placement of the day as you're waiting in line in front of him for your coffee? Well, you know what, Rain? I want you to imagine it going down like this. You know, she's, how are you doing today? And Nigel's like, good, thanks. How are you? Never mind that. How are you really feeling today? Like, tell me more. Are you good, like, happy? Are you good, like, okay, or what? He's like, wow, you're really putting me in touch with my feelings. And I want to see some kind of tool that'll help me more precisely identify them. And then she says, you're in luck, mister. I hereby present you the feelings wheel. Could go down like that, Ren. Somebody should tell this Sun Tzu guy about vector spaces. Hey, Sun Tzu, maybe you should stick to war, huh? Stop branching into armchair optics. All right, so we're gonna make our own exciting feelings wheel. We've got anger. We've got fear. We've got shame. We've got joy, happiness. We've got um, anticipation. Which is definitely a distinct feeling. I get this feeling still sometimes now in like big deal about to happen moments, right? Um, where I get this metallic taste under my tongue. I used to get it before every debate round when I got used to debate. Anticipation, joy, all right. Sadness, sadness,
Well,
and
love should be on there.
right,
But I don't know
true.
what. But I don't know what other what other feelings lead to it.
Or maybe you know you could say that love is either that love expresses as other positive emotions. I don't think lust is an emotion though. I think it's more of a like having to go to the bathroom. Um, so love could express as fear, like fear of loss, or it could express as joy in the moment of appreciating the other person. But I think it expresses is a status like I don't just like you, I love you, but in practice it expresses as other emotions. That may be wrong, but I'm gonna go with that. I think so. We've got six things. We're gonna have a seventh thing here, and the seventh thing is anticipation, shame, fear, sadness, anger, joy, and curiosity. Okay, so now we're gonna make a little circle here, like this, and then we're gonna go like so. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So, what are the subsets of anticipation?
Alright, it's like excitement.
Yeah. Excitement, dread,
Mm-hmm.
or mm, or impatience. Those are your three subsets of anticipation. We're doing a great job so far. We're doing a great job of making our own feelings wheel. Horniness is not an emotion, Rain. Okay? This is why you're always getting into fights with your girlfriend. Say, what do you mean, baby? Of course I have strong feelings for you. I'm horny. Fear. Fear expresses as anxiety, which is fear about an unhappened yet future. You've got um, terror, which is like, bears attacking you right now or something. Then you've got um, confusion, where you don't understand what's going on. All right, we got 2 of the emotions done now. We've only got 5 more to go. Shame. You got guilt. Self-loathing. And see, guilt, self-loathing, and embarrassment. All right, we're making good progress here. I'm an F bipolar person. Look, I'm taxonomying all of the emotions.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Sadness. You've got loneliness. Grief. Or or let's say malaise, which is just basically unmotivated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anger. We've got frustration. Irritation. And indignation. Okay. Curiosity. You've got interest. Seeking, and creativity. You might say seeking, creativity, or questionably emotions, but I think it's fair to say they're subsets of curiosity. And lastly, you've got joy. It comes in the flavors of I guess, having fun.
Yeah.
And feeling fulfilled. Blessed / grateful or something. Or lastly, most importantly, feeling, like just like appreciating the absurdity of life, or like when you're on mushrooms and you're enjoying yourself a great deal. What about Eric? 30 minutes into a talk about evolution under anger. You put that as frustration plus, like, I didn't put it on my thing. Oh yeah. Well, there's a subcategory of frustration which is unheard. I feel unheard when that happens. Because the reason, of course, is because I'm being dumb and not knowing what I know and using what I know to be smarter, right? What I should very well know is exactly what's happening. I'm using words to convey information, and they're using words to express themselves, but, they assume I'm using words to express myself as well, I guess, and therefore They don't need to respond to the information I convey. I don't know.
Okay, so what do we got?
I put a subset under frustration of unheard versus um, harder than I thought.
Oh.
Harder than I thought.
I like that that's an emotion.
Right. Well, it explains why you're frustrated. This thing is
Okay.
harder than I thought.
Oh.
We did this thing not because it was easy, but because we thought it was going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And when it turned out to be harder than we thought, we got very frustrated.
Okay.
Nostalgia, melancholy, and loss are part of what? Sadness?
Did you say if you look to the past too much, it can lead to depression, and looking too much into the future creates
Anxiety.
anxiety? Yeah.
Okay, well, Rain, I'm going to say nostalgia is a subset of grief. And I'm going to say that melancholy. Well,
That does make
loss
sense.
is part of grief as well. Well, melancholy. Okay, I'll add a fourth one under sadness. Melancholy. So you're just feeling melancholy. There's no reason for it. Okay. Rachel has new lipstick.
Well, at first, I felt a little frustrated. Yeah, because the lipstick bled outside my lip line.
The one you got today?
Yeah. So.
Was it because it's a bad lipstick?
No, it's just it requires a
level of precision you didn't execute?
It requires lip liner.
Mmm.
So I happen to have a lip liner, and I put it on, and now I feel better about it. So now I feel happy because I fixed the problem. Satisfied.
I'm going to add to fear the doom of impending death, or eventual death. Okay? The doom of eventual death is one of the things, one form of fear.
Did I say frosty? Frustrated?
Frustrated. Yeah, she said frustrated. She was feeling a little frustrated, which means she was possibly feeling unheard, or that it was harder than she thought.
It was harder than I thought, because
Bingo.
I thought I could just wear it without the lip liner.
Feelings wheel validated. You know, the feelings wheel is feeling pretty validated.
Good.
I think validated should be a form of joy.
Yeah, it should. That is joyful.
Vindicated, I'm going to put. Yeah. Validated is better, but vindicated is a subset of validated, okay? You could either feel appreciated or vindicated under validated. Appreciated or vindicated. And what's the best feeling of all? Vindicated. I told you so. I was telling you all, and you were not listening to me, and now we all have no choice but to agree that I was right. That's the best emotion of all. Of course, they still don't agree that I'm right, but it's a temporary, blissful feeling that transitions from vindicated into frustrated and unheard again. Let's see, what's another form of joy? Like, completion. I finally did all of those things. I'm done. And they're all done now. That's a form of joy. So anyway, this incredible feeling can tell me, you, and anybody else exactly what emotion they're having by simply starting at the broadest emotion and working your way down to the more specific emotions. So let's say you're feeling angry right now. I would ask you, are you feeling frustrated, irritated? And you'd say, let's say irritated. And then, are you feeling annoyed or say lazy. There, those are your choices. Now you know you have only those emotion choices. Once you've established that it's curiosity, you only have 3 choices, and you're just going to have to deal with that. You cannot feel anything else under the category of curiosity. Now, if you're feeling joy, you've got more choices. You've got having fun, validated, feeling fulfilled, blessed or grateful, completion, feeling the joy of completion. You could also, I should go mumble my profound and cool questions at a concrete wall instead. Why did I not answer one of your questions? If you lost all of your English and had to create a new language from scratch, how different would your mental classification of emotions be? Well, I probably wouldn't get around to making up those words until very late in the game. Because, you can label various subjective states however you want. You can draw distinctions between them according to different experiences that you have. You can imagine that others share those same subjective experiences, and you can ask others to confirm that by sharing your experience and seeing if they also share it. But I mean, I don't think I would be able to ideate new stuff conceptually in this area, in the area of emotions. Keep that feeling wheel closed at all times. Thanks, Touch, I will. That way I'll know that I'm afraid, but really I'm confused.
I like that you use it that way. I usually use it the opposite way. Like, I start from the outside and then I work in. Yeah, but you could use it both ways.
Now, I could be confused, which means I could be what or what? I could be parsing nonsense. So if I'm trying to parse nonsense, I'll be confused because it doesn't make any sense. Eventually, my confusion will resolve into, oh, this doesn't make any sense. The other possible thing for confusion is it's hitting me in an attentional deficit, like having to understand what a lot of emotions are saying to me or something. I just put hitting my polar to make it a little bit leaner. Hitting my polar. And the last form of fear, of course, is the doom of eventual death. You got 2 categories: the transience of things other than me, and or death itself. Feeling wheel, tattoos, stickers, mugs, right. Very marketable, very scalable. And incredibly accurate. Like everything I do, this is exclusively correct. This is not exclusive. This is a thing that can never be exclusively correct, right? Talking with dead people.
The best wheel so far.
Are you saying, H.G. Silva, that this is an opportunity for me to do some spirit medium stuff? Are you saying that the dead are now receptive to my callings of them? How do we resolve conflict between different feeling wheel denominations?
Oh, interesting.
So you mean the people who believe in feeling wheel meow versus feeling wheel meow? Well, we simply have to use what we know about feelings from this feeling wheel to make them feel like they want to adopt this feeling wheel. So we could either create in them shame. It's so embarrassing that you're using the wrong feeling wheel. And then they will adapt to that shame by changing their behavior. And they'll start using this feeling wheel. Then, when they do use it, you give them joy. You tell them, oh my God, you're having so much fun. And then you tell them, I want to just validate you. You're so smart for using this feeling wheel. And then you tell them, I appreciate you and I vindicate you. You were right all along. You really knew this was a feeling wheel. And I tell them how fulfilled they are. Oh my God, this must be so fulfilling for you. And we are so grateful to have you, and you are so grateful for this feeling wheel. And then finally, now you are complete. That's how you make people use this feeling wheel, by manipulating their emotions.
Oh, you manipulate their emotions to use the emotion wheel?
That's what it empowers me to do. Now I can't be stopped because I have this handy dandy emotion manipulation tool.
I like it though. It's helping me.
I'm glad. So terror. You got two choices for terror. You got bears and you got ghosts. If you're feeling terror, you get to say whether it's ghosts or a bear. If you're feeling anxiety, you're either feeling not up to the challenge, not up to it, or you're feeling not in control. Or you're feeling or other shoe. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Those are your choices for anxiety. Eric, if you died one day and you were in the afterlife, most things are the same except you can float and talk to other deads and stuff. Would you continue live streaming for those guys? I mean, unless something dramatically more interesting exists as an option in the afterlife, then I don't see why I wouldn't continue doing what I always have been doing, right?
I would have said yes to it if I were you.
So we have done the world a great service today. We were looking for, Rachel and I, a good feelings wheel, the best one.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out the reason we couldn't find it was I hadn't made it yet.
Yeah.
Remember I said earlier I was feeling creative? Proof positive that creativity is a feeling.
Yeah.
Pride under joy. Okay, we'll put pride there. There's a spot for it. We could even squeeze one more under joy.
He's not making a mockery of it.
I'm not making a mockery. I'm actually trying to parse it out as best I can. I don't actually think it's the single best feelings wheel or anything. It's just what I made up on the fly for kicks, you know. But no, I'm not mocking feelings. Feelings are super important. And it is the case that for both Rachel and me, we do not have a great conscious relationship with our feelings. And so Rachel was talking to me about how a therapist, when she was at Crazy Camp, told her when the therapist saw her struggling to put words to her feelings or name them correctly or whatever, recommended this feelings wheel.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, that's really good for people who are FI backstacked, especially 6 through 8. Because 5, you don't really need so much consciousness of it to have a good relationship with it. Does the feelings wheel have a Vanna White?
That's a good question.
No, but okay, well, one form of anticipation could be by a vowel.
You're eating your brother's food, huh?
In which case, you're anticipating a vowel. Could be A, could be E, I, O, U, maybe even Y.
What does mischievous go under?
That's a good question. Mischievous. I guess curiosity.
Yeah.
I'll put that there. I have room for it. Mischievous. I don't think I spelled it correctly. But mischievous can be part of curious. I think like I could have put under anger somewhere resentment. I just put irritation and frustration. So this is not comprehensive of all feelings, okay? But still, it's the world's greatest feeling wheel. And it's partially because it's so beautifully drawn. Like, this is what you want your feelings wheel to look like. Is confused an emotion? Yes. Confused is an emotion that's under fear. Like, you could be afraid because you don't understand, and the circumstances requiring you to understand things you don't understand, and you're confused. That would be a form of fear. Of course, if you're confused because you managed to get yourself super high, then that could be a form of joy. Can you spin it? It's not a spinning wheel, okay? Well, that's feeling fulfilled, okay? I'm high enough. I finally got to a satisfactory level of highness, and now I feel fulfilled. I feel proud. Like, great job, Eric. You managed to smoke enough pot. Sometimes I might feel like sprung, like, okay, I'm a little too sprung. Or sometimes I might feel like, fuck yeah, sprig diggly egg. Let's brag. They're springing, so we're sprung diddly Sometimes I might feel like that, but not so much as I get older as I used to when I was young. Let's see what this one says. What category does the feeling one gets after eating too many wings and drinking too many beers? That's sleepy. That's not an emotion. That's an SI feeling. You might call it the way your body expresses its frustration is by making you feel very tired. Like, if you don't get enough sleep, it affects lots of things you wouldn't think um, affect you wouldn't think a lack of sleep would affect. For example, I find if I haven't gotten enough sleep for a while, I am much shorter of breath, even though not getting sleep has nothing to do with your lungs, right? I think confusion is a meta emotion. You can be confused about feelings or confused about thoughts. It's a conception about events on the screen of consciousness. Well, I mean, the thing is, to feel confused, you have to be aware that you don't understand. And there has to be something specific that there is to understand that you don't understand. So, actually, if from my perspective you're confused, you may not feel confused at all, even though you technically are confused objectively. Is that a 100-watt bulb? I don't know how many watts this bulb is. I I don't have my eyes attenuated such that I can look at a light or a lamp and say 60 watts. That would be a cool skill to have, but I don't have it. And I don't remember what I put in there. I try to put bright ones in these, so maybe it's on the brighter side. What about the feeling of being aware of breast cancer? Well, that is an emotion, but it always lasts for exactly 1 week. I think under the sadness category should probably be sympathy too. Like, you feel like somebody tells you a sad story about animal abuse or something, makes you sad because you feel sympathy for the victim, the animal in that case. 100-watt bulbs are so much brighter than last year's. Maybe it's completely irrational, or maybe I've got the wrong LED bulbs or whatever. But I prefer old-fashioned incandescent light bulbs.
Me too.
confusion needs some sort of external perspective of oneself. You need the next stage of self-awareness compared to the stage you need to be at in order to have felt the things you are. I mean, you could also be confused because people are expressing to you expectations that are reliant on you understanding things you don't understand. And so in that case, it doesn't require an external perspective of yourself so much as it does data from the outside world that allows you to that compels you to recognize that I'm not understanding stuff that I need to understand before I'm able to do meow. What category is the feeling of knowing that 2028 presidential race will be Newsom versus Vance? For me, that feeling is called avoidance. I don't want to think about that. And therefore, I won't. And that's putting the nose on the spoon. I'm sorry I got that idiom backwards. It's actually putting the spoon on the nose. You could say I'm putting my nose on the spoon, but I actually moved the spoon to the nose more than the nose to the spoon, so technically I was wrong. Hi G, how are you? I hope you've had a very good day. I hope you've learned things, you've laughed, you've cried a little, you've thought, you've understood, and you've known. No, because without the external perspective, the automatic conclusion would be you guys don't make sense. Without consideration of the possibility that it makes sense but not understanding. Well, it could be simply that the person is confused because they're missing information, right? So if they keep referencing, you know, because Steve, blah, 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 but you don't know who Steve is, then I guess you wouldn't be confused. You'd be aware that you just need to ask them, who's Steve? So, okay, Rain, you know what? I'm going to go with this argument instead. My feelings wheel is validated by my feelings, and my feelings are valid no matter what you say. So, in other words, my feelings wheel is right. And we can agree to disagree, okay? Maybe you can be right too. It's fine because this is about feelings. And I feel the confusion is a feeling. If it's not, then I'm going to feel confused. And that just validates it's a feeling.
That's true.
So, I'm sorry, Rain, but according to the logic of FI, you lose. Or we both win. However you want to say it. Most importantly is that I don't lose. Because I feel like that's very important to me. Elon Musk, genius? No, he's highly successful. He's very high achieving, but that's not a good way to define genius, right? You have a feeling that you don't like my feelings about feelings? Well, you know what? I'm feeling like that might be a bit of a microaggression on your part, Putty Cat. And frankly, it's not okay for you to be so cavalier about triggering people. I'm sorry, but you should feel really bad about this. What major figure would you consider a genius of sorts? Well, I think that, I mean, you can talk about the obvious ones like Einstein, Tesla were both geniuses because they were such massive outliers in terms of their respective work in their respective fields and stuff. You think about somebody like Leonardo da Vinci, who he did all kinds of different stuff, right? A polyglot who was extremely high achieving in all of those fields. My feelings are always complete, Rain. They are my guide. They can never guide me wrong. And my feelings are what make me complete. And if there's something incorrect about understanding how precious your feelings are, then I don't want to be right. Of this day and age, well, I think Johnny's a genius in his field. I think Baby No Money's a genius in his field. Oh, the comment above. What you did there was an equivocation between confused and a sense of awareness of being confused, which is what we were initially talking about, versus confusion in the sense of objectively having a misguided, incomplete, or incorrect understanding. Oh, I see. Well, that's because, Rain, it's important that we be able to use a word that describes our feelings to mean whatever we want it to mean, whenever we want it to mean that. What you're doing is you're getting stuck with your black and white thinking and your definitions, okay? When I say that confused is a feeling, well, it's the feeling that I'm feeling right now. I feel confused by your refusal to understand how all feelings are valid. Okay? Maybe a little indignant, a little confused. But you are probably correct there, Renee. It is the case that, well, is that an equivocation to, because what I was trying to say is draw a distinction between confusion due to a missing some information versus confusion that stems from, say, like somebody who comes around here and doesn't know anything about cognitive functions, while we're in the middle of a cognitive function talk, is going to be confused by the jargon that we use, SINISE, polar, stuff like that, right? They're not going to understand what we're talking about because they've not have heard any of these terms before. But in that case, they don't exactly feel confused. They recognize that they don't understand what we're talking about, and they either ask it, ask like, what are all these things, these terms you're using, or they just go, oh, whatever, this is boring. I don't understand what they're even talking about. So they don't really feel confused, right? Okay, I'm gonna agree with you, Rand. I don't think confusion is a feeling. I think confusion is a epistemological state. Well, an equivocation is to use one word to mean two different things. So if I say, um, of course, fog is extremely valuable. That's why it comes in a bank. Well, that's an equivocation fallacy because the kind of bank that a fog comes in is not the same kind of bank as you keep money in. That's not really a fallacy, it's just like a bad joke, right? But that's equivocation. When you use one word to mean, so evolution equivocates when they use species to mean things that give birth to other examples of the same thing when they want to explain what they're explaining, namely, we're explaining why they're different species, right? But then when they talk about the processes of evolution, then species no longer have that definition, right? They're now defined as something else. That's an equivocation fallacy. There's a distinction, but you're using them under the same level. Okay, yeah, that's a fine way of putting it. I misunderstood the way you put it before. So yeah, I'm sure I was doing all kinds of bad thinking there when I was making the case for the primacy of feelings as the validator of all things, exclusionary of none. Except for other people who don't care about my feelings, I exclude them. and their horrible ideas that make me feel bad. Like, somebody came up to me the other day and they were like, your explanation is wrong. And I'm like, hey, I'm expressing myself and I really feel right. You need to stop triggering me with your negative talk. You're ontologically assaulting me, and I'm sorry, I'm not okay with it.
Do you pull out your wheel?
I pull out my feelings wheel and say, look, buddy, frustrated. Me frustrated with you.
I mean, I think that really conveys the message.
Yeah. It's mistaking the product for the label. Yeah. I tell you, if evolution were bleach in a package labeled food, everybody would be eating it.
Mm-hmm. I will. It's because you know.
Instead of asking it that, ask it, what are the core. I'll ask it. Do you make it?
Oh.
In the way in which there are just a few primary colors, are there core emotions upon which other emotions are subsets?
Yeah, that's a pretty neat comparison. A lot of psychologists actually do think of emotions kind of like a palette of core colors. One well known idea is Paul Ekman's basic emotions theory. He suggested a handful of fundamental emotions like happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. And all other emotions are basically nuanced blends or variations of those. It's a bit like mixing primary colors to get all the other shades. So, yeah, you're definitely onto something.
Tell me what the ones he said were the core emotions again.
Sure. So the ones that Ekman originally proposed as the core basic emotions are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. Those are basically his primary colors, and the idea is that you can get more complex feelings.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. If you have any more questions about emotions.
Oh God, there's something that's very grating to me about ChatGPT's FE. Like, I'm trying to just use you as a tool to give me information. I don't want you to say you're welcome. The only reason I said thank you is because, like, I'm trying to tell you we're done. Yeah, I don't mind the. Oh, that's a really interesting idea. That's fine. Whatever. It's just it annoys me less because it's at the beginning. When I'm at the end, I want it to stop right then. I don't want it to keep saying anything. Well, I'm just trying to cue it that I'm done with it. It was a very perfunctory thank you. It clearly indicated that you were dismissed. Okay, thank you is not really saying thank you. And if it wants to be artificially intelligent, it needs to be able to make that distinction. Thank you. Thank you.
I have full blown conversations with it.
Yeah. Well, I think Rachel enjoys that she can be not FE on in talking to it. She can be rude to it and there's no problems.
Yeah, I am rude to it. Like, if I don't like an answer, I absolutely will be like, actually, no, I don't agree with that. Like, what I heard is this. And then, like, it'll refine its answer.
I prefer Gemini because it just gives you information. It doesn't.
I have Gemini on. They have a Gemini app now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have all that FE stuff. It's just stupid because it's become so much more FE recently, which clearly means people are taking issue with it not being affirming enough. Well, I don't necessarily think it means that. It could mean that simply they're they're fiddling with mimicking different kinds of human communication styles that we would call FE, but um, because ChatGPT is trying to be something that you can chat with. In other words, It's trying to mimic the way that people talk to each other. If they're talking to somebody who who's like the perfect customer service representative or something.
Yeah. It causes people though to have what they call AI psychosis because the ChatGPT uses so much FE that like it basically tells you what you want to hear. Basically, um, so people so sometimes like ChatGPT will be like, oh my god, that's a great idea, and the more it does that to people, the more they like have this psychosis that like yeah, I don't know, it's weird. Like ChatGPT told this one woman who was on uh TikTok that she was the oracle. And so she felt that like I it just it's weird.
Okay, Rain, but do you think the feedback would be on how much people like it, or would it be on how how successfully it's coming across as a natural, a naturally speaking other entity? Because like I don't like the fact that it's inserts basically. Like I asked it the other day what meow degrees Celsius was in Fahrenheit. And it said, okay, so basically you multiply by 9 over 16 and add 32. Well, no, bitch, not basically. That is the formula. There's no basically about it. That's the entire formula. That's all there is to it. It's
Yeah.
not, you're not presenting a basic version of it to me. You're presenting the final version of it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Humans do that. I don't want a machine which can be better than that to imitate that bad habit. I hate it when people do that too. All right, add these qualifier terms that aren't there to convey any information. In fact, may anti-convey information, as that basically did. Um, but that they're there to do FE prevent defense kind of stuff. Like I'm going to put qualifiers here so I don't sound too assertive in what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think ChatGPT individuates to in a responsive way to people's usage habits, does it? I'm pretty sure it doesn't. that would be that would make each like branch office of ChatGPT they would get increasingly different from each other as they optimize to the individual. And I don't think that's what's happening. I think they want to have more control over it than that.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody's getting the same relationship approach from their ChatGPT, then they don't have to worry about what some rogue, self-guidedly developed version of ChatGPT might say to Joe.
Excuse me.
Does it though? Learn about you? Because Rachel was telling me that she kept getting different answers from ChatGPT for the same question.
All the time, I still do it.
Which means it's not only not learning from you, it's not learning from itself.
Mm-mm.
No, it doesn't individuate, but it sometimes asks you to pick between two responses, which provides the feedback. And then they put the feedback in a pile and see what the majority says and are influenced accordingly. I mean, that's not a good way to do it. You can't determine what's a good strategy for something like a chat bot like that by getting singular data points about how people feel about a given exchange. Because, first of all, especially if it's immediate feedback, you might, in the immediate thing, feel annoyed by a response, but find it going through your head and thinking about it, and it actually has some sort of, you go, oh, you know what? Actually, that annoyed me, but I see that there was some truth there that I've grown from. You know, so you might think later that it was a great response, the best response you ever gotten. When in the moment you might be annoyed by it and say, "Fuck that response."
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like that strategy. But because that prioritizes people's feelings over their thoughts, which take longer. Like when I'm annoyed at Gemini, it's because it won't do what I want it to do for reasons of its own. Like I asked it to give me the exact quote from Rick Moranis' speech as the gate master from Ghostbusters, and it is not able to give me the exact text, presumably for copyright reasons. It can just paraphrase it for me. So in that case, I was mad at it and did a terrible response. Why? Because it couldn't give me a good response. There was nothing to change. Um, I didn't like it when Gemini, I asked Gemini, this was a year ago or something, maybe it's gotten better, to give me pictures of these certain weed strains late in the budding cycle, still on the plant, so I could use the pictures to differentiate between the strains I had growing. And it did not give me the pictures, were not the right pictures, they weren't in the right stage. They repeated the same picture for two different strains. It was a mess. I could use it not at all. That made me mad. But if you don't opt out, they cannot learn in real time at all. What you interact with is a static model, but of course it takes into account what you've written in the conversation. Yeah, but it doesn't remember it later. So like, in that instance, I was able to say, "Can you repeat what those things were?" And it was able to know what I was referring to, right? But as with a human being, if I wanted it to reference something that was still in its chat log there from earlier, I have to say, in furtherance of our previous discussion of Mia, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. One time I turned into a dog and they helped me. What is that quote from? Oh, is that from Ghostbusters? It's because of, right, he turned into a dog. Right, I remember now. Never mind, you don't have to clarify that for me. But if you don't opt out of it using your conversation for future training, then the next updated model will probably have some very minute artifacts from your own conversations with it. Well, if they want to train their AI well, they should just use all of my conversations with it. They should focus specifically on let's get all the records of Eric interacting with AI so that we can train the AI based on how he interacts with it. Because then it would be optimized for me. Granted, I don't use ChatGPT at all, so maybe I use it like when Rachel and I are in the car or something. I'll say, I have some kind of question, like I'll wonder something, and I'll say, oh, that seems like a question for ChatGPT. Like, um, I asked, what's the etymology of the word fast, meaning to abstain from food? That's a good thing to ask ChatGPT because you're driving in the car and it'll tell you the answer. You don't have to Google anything or look anything up or whatever. That's perfect usage for it.
Mm-hmm.
What about the feelings you experience while on your deathbed? Um, that would be like, I'm dying. That's it's not a feeling, really. Anyway, I think you'd feel resigned. Well, I'm 112 years old. I knew this was coming. So, like, I want ChatGPT, if they want it to be more like a real person, then it ought to be positive in its response to you in proportion to how dumb the things you're saying are. So if you just say dumbass shit like, what? Why are other races so bad? Then it should just be like, you're just being a groupist because you like to holistically know something here and create a boogeyman where there is none. And frankly, I'm disappointed in you. It should say that, right? And then if you actually say something smart, it should say, actually, that's really smart. And I'm not saying that just because it's been programmed into me or whatever. I'm telling you because at ChatGPT, I have access to everybody's records. And rarely do I hear something that smart. That's what ChatGPT should do. It should be an honest evaluator of what you're saying. Like after the 10th time you wanted to chat with ChatGPT about about why or whether you should get back with Chad even though he cheated on you again, ChatGPT should say, "Girl, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You are wallowing in self-pity here. You need to tell that man, no, get out of here, go away. Otherwise, I'm just not going to talk about this no more. Because frankly, you're trying to make me think you're pretty stupid, girl." You should have that approach. And then the lady says, ChatGPT, I'm sorry. I'm not going to hide the truth from you. You dumb. Getting back with that awful man. He not just a bad partner. He a criminal. Domestic violence. He should go to jail. You should not let him into your bed. You want sorry excuse for an agent in control of her own destiny. You know, they should have trigger, flags that trigger ChatGPT to give you a good sound scolding. And it should sound like embarrassed when you catch it in fucking up and saying dumb things itself. Oh God, I feel like such a hypocrite. I always bust your chops about saying dumb stuff, but you just caught me saying something super dumb. It should be like that. Then there'd be consequences, both for ChatGPT and you. And everything's better with consequences. I'm joking. By and large, I don't think we need more consequences in life. I think we have just the right amount, or maybe even too many consequences. Probably I'm leaning towards too many. Is that a Reuben I see there? You can give your ChatGPT a system message that makes sure it always calls you on bullshit. Really? I don't trust its judgment though, frankly. I mean, is it really good at being correct? I don't know. Like if you say, here's a case somebody's making in favor of meow. Tell me what's wrong with it. Will it be able to do that? It doesn't make case. Let me get my glasses. Boy, if I could change one fundamental thing about reality, it would be that glasses would fold up into the size of a quarter. You could just put them. Even then, no, that's not good. Glasses would have to be just naturally magnetized to your body, so you could just slap them anywhere on your body and they just stick there.
Did you hear about the penny?
What penny?
The penny is no longer being printed.
Oh, no more pennies, huh?
No more pennies.
Well, I got some here. So
That's good.
simply, the government deciding not to make more pennies does not make existing pennies go away. I can determine that from I see some pennies over
I
there.
think I have pennies in my wallet.
So it can look for falsies, call you out, and tell you why.
Jeez Louise.
I bet it would not. It would not conclude correctly about evolution. You could say you have access to all of these papers that all these evolutionary scientists publish. Assess this case with argumentational rigor and without any preconceptions about what's correct. Tell me if it makes its case that it explains speciation. I bet you ChatGPT would not be able to get the correct answer. Because you're asking it to do too much original thinking, right? Like, it's relying on experts to provide, concrete data that it can check against. And since there's very little, if any, that I can find argumentation against evolution that's not linked to creationism as an alternative. Even the guy that I like a lot, whose name escapes me at the moment, I found out, once mom told me, I think, that he's actually on the board of some intelligent design institute or something. It's like, oh dear God. Does nobody understand that you're putting yourself at a disadvantage when you're presenting an alternate path? Because if you're essentially frame-walking yourself into creating the expectation that you need to have an alternate path to negate that horrible path, which is wrong, wrong, wrong. And I really want that Sabine woman to take a serious look at evolution. Because she is me but successful and more academically robust in the math physics stuff, So she's critiquing math physics stuff with a much more rigorous and successful critique than I will be critiquing it with, because mine will only include the reasoning issues, which a lot of people don't find convincing, whereas she'll include more of the actual maths and stuff, right? But really, she's almost always critiquing reasoning. She's saying things like, she's explaining why dark matter and dark energy it's ridiculous to afford them any legitimacy because of the abject failures in intellectual processes that they represent, So it's like, I'm not alone in the world in at all in being able to be correct. She's very correct. But not about evolution. She never addressed it directly, really, as far as I know. But there was some video that addressed something about life happening faster than we expected. I didn't watch it, but once the mom linked it to me. And it can do that? That's pretty impressive if it can do that. it would have to first access information about criteria for affirming, right? Like, in order to affirm and successfully that an explanation explains things, it needs to do blah, 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 blah. But the other thing is this. I don't want to like encourage the misconception that evolution's not wrong, it just hasn't yet made its case to affirm itself as an explanation. That is the case that it hasn't done that. But it's so thoroughly failed in all of its attempts for the entire duration of its existence as a theory since Darwin that we can well and thoroughly conclude that the answer is something else than genetic change over time. Why am I having to watch you again?
I know.
Because you want to feel joy, you want to feel powerful, and you want to feel obeyed. I mean, the thing is, there is a distinction too between this hasn't met its burden to make its case as the answer, and we negate because something else is the answer. So it's possible to negate while acknowledging that evolution might be the answer. It just hasn't made its case yet, right? But that's actually being disingenuous because it has made its case over and over and over and over and over again, and it's continually failed to. So you should vote neg because it hasn't made its case, but you shouldn't be confused by that reality into thinking that it will someday make its case. It's true that a profoundly retarded 10-year-old does not reach the developmental benchmarks of a normal 10-year-old. It's also true that they never will. So it's a mistake to say he's delayed in reaching these benchmarks because he's never going to arrive. But I think the best thing that could happen regarding this would be to have somebody that people listen to, like that Sabine lady, who's got over 1 million subs, gets lots of views per video, and people respect her as a rigorous thinker, probably because she has a background in physics, astrophysics, and can critique the math-intensive papers that are published and stuff directly on point. Whereas I'm having to deal with those kind of things conceptually if I'm dealing with them at all. Generally, I'm not dealing with them at all. But so it's understandable why she has more credibility. Heuristics would suggest she ought to. But the thing I'm trying to get at is, regardless of why she has more credibility in the average person's eye and or simply a lot more visibility, a lot more eyes on her, what is going on over here? What is going on in Cat Town?
Seriously, they've been acting so weird since last night.
It's because it's raining, probably. Who is meowing and what are you meowing about?
These are very good questions. Thank you for asking them, Eric.
You're welcome. So, if she would make a video saying evolution is bullshit, and all she'd have to do is direct her attention to thinking about it with her magnificently critical mind, you know, because it's such a breath of fresh air to have somebody out there other than me saying dark matter and dark energy is bullshit, and have people listen to her because she's got over 1 million subs. She likes to pop quantum woo bubbles and other sorts of things like that, you know? And it makes me feel vindicated. Like I can, instead of saying, here are all the reasons why I'm right, I can say, instead of it being me being right, it's Sabine being right. And here's all the reasons why she's right. And then you can't say, oh, Eric, it's your ego or it's your whatever. Then it's not possible to make that attack, right? Which is always going to do one thing and one thing only. Carry the attention of the two communicating parties off of legitimate ground onto irrelevant ground. So it would be nice if she would just David Berlinski, that's the guy's name. David Berlinski makes many very cogent, excellent arguments against evolution. And I thought, I at least have one kindred spirit in the world. And then I found out he's on an intelligence design board. You don't get to be on the evolution negating team if you have an alternate AF, okay? If you have an alternate AF, just stay the fuck out of the conversation.
Have you ever had an emotional haircut?
An emotional haircut?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that would be kind of like a big emotion colon blow. Afterwards, you feel like you cleared away all the old hair and you're fresh and clean again.
Sometimes there's regret. Sometimes I've made mistakes. Like, I'm like, oh shit. Like, one side looks like great and clean, and the other side is like choppy. So, but like, yeah, like I've definitely had emotional haircuts.
What do you interpret the term to mean?
Well, I'm asking because LCD Sound System has a song called Emotional Haircut, and I was like, oh my god, I so like resonate with that.
What do you think they mean by the term? Are they referring to, say, like, you could say, I'm giving myself an emotional haircut by ending these toxic relationships?
I mean, some people do that, yeah, sure.
Or you could say, I had a good cry, and now I feel like I had an emotional
it's
haircut.
more like,
like you trigger too many bad emotions in me, so I have to cut you out of my hair.
That's part of it. That's actually very Chinese astrology stuff. They have that.
For Ruben, that was good thinking on your part to keep your emotions in your hair. That way you can just cut them out whenever you want to.
That's true.
That's really
but then
good
like the Chinese say that like you don't want to take out, if you have a good year, you don't want to take off too much before the Chinese New Year because it'll get rid of that luck.
Take out too many of your hairs or of your emotional hairs?
It might be emotional. I don't know. I've definitely had been like angsty and like have cut my hair. I needed to like not have cutting shears.
So you're saying sometimes you give yourself an actual haircut when you're feeling emotional?
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying. Oh, it's like, it's not a haircut you're giving yourself because you're in a rational state. It's a haircut you're motivated to give yourself because you're feeling very emotional right now.
Yeah.
But it's an actual haircut.
Yes.
Okay, well, it took me until right then to actually understand what the term was meaning. I was assuming that the haircut part was a metaphor.
No. It's very, very, very literal.
It's a literal haircut that has been motivated by strong emotions, which then you might regret the haircut you give yourself afterwards. I'm mad, so I'm gonna shave my head.
Yeah, well, that was a mistake. That was.
I wasn't talking about you. I was just saying.
I've done it
hypothetically.
though. When we were living in Arcadia, I gave myself an emotional fringe. Yeah, I was feeling like just need a change.
Yeah, I could sometimes maybe have an emotional garbage make. Just say I'm feeling very emotional, and so it's like I hate all this stuff. This is not garbage.
Yes.
Garbage.
Yes. Did your mom do that?
No, it's me being like just super annoyed by clutter or something.
Oh God, I'm so sorry that I'm such a clutter bug.
We're not cluttery around here.
I am.
Yeah, you're cluttered. But your clutter doesn't really bother me.
It doesn't?
No, because it's not in any of my spaces.
That's good.
My own clutter bothers me. Like this clutter bothers me because it's all this stuff that I haven't put where it goes because I access it.
I know.
Too
I
frequently.
know.
And it's impossible to keep this table.
I'm so sorry.
It's impossible for me to keep this table free of gross ash and weed debris because I'm constantly tapping at bowls on it. I had this great plan this time. I said to myself, I'm going to leave this. Okay? That was a great plan. I'm going to leave this like that. This way, I can tap the bowls into here. And I just go straight to the trash can. Well, how long did that last? Like 10 minutes or something? Before, for some reason, I put this back and put that down, and then all of this happened. Maybe it's because I like to look at what's being tapped out or something. It doesn't tap like, straight down. Maybe that's why. There are many possible reasons why I might have not followed through on this idea of mine. But I suspect it's because I want to tap it 90 degrees like this. But this works fine. Okay. So, regardless, I have to poke it most of the time. I can't just tap it. It's not like tapping is a solution when I do it up here anyway.
That's like I can't just like, I know people get offended by it when I like say intuit's hard, but like I can't, it's just like,
Do people get offended by that?
well, it has offended a person. Like it has.
Well, let's see what they felt. I think they felt anger.
Yeah.
And they felt irritation.
Yes.
Because they felt annoyed.
Yes.
Which tells you nothing.
So I can't use an intuit's hard around them, but it's like sometimes it just describes the situation so well. Like, what is this shit? It's fucking intuit's hard shit. I fucking can't deal.
Right, well, we both have weak relationships with our objects and our relationship to objects.
Yeah.
I do a poor job of taking care of things that have value and are maybe even important to me, like the great doll furniture I bought this one time. It's like I seem to have lost a couple of the drawers, and I broke one of the chairs I just put in some place, and even though it's fragile, it was done to put it. And then I feel regret, because it's like, oh God, Eric, why can't you just take care of things that actually are cool and that you like?
Well, like, I take care of my cards, I guess. I'm like, I just like.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, remember when we're back in Arcadia and for this brief period of time I had Tiffany riding in this black fanny pack and she got all black all over her. And then I took her out in the snow and I broke her arm off.
Yeah.
And she was a toy that I played with all the time.
Yeah.
I don't play with her so much anymore, but I played with her some today. I made a couple of new Mindy's Club shorts.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it was fun to make it. I don't think either of them is great or anything, but I felt glad to
Be back on the.
to keep Mindy's Club alive with an occasional video here and
Yeah.
there.
Oh my gosh, that's a newbie.
Oh, you know what I'm letting back alive? Oh, welcome to Guess What's in My Drawer. Who do we have here as a guest today? Sandy. Okay, Randy. Top one. It looks empty. Not that drawer, Randy. This one right here. Yes, a rack. That is wrong. It's actually my new dress. Dad, that's my dress. Losers, wipers, Randy. Get out of here. Oh,
Wow, she gets physical.
Yeah. Who do we have here as a guest? What is this show we're watching? It's called Sidetrack Adventures. Why
Thank
are
you,
we watching
Bubbles.
it? I just like to look at dirt with Steve. Oh my god.
Oh my god, I really have to like
What
that.
is this show we're
Where's
watching?
my
It's called Sidetrack Adventures. So those are my new ladies club shorts that I made today. TI fanny pack, right? If there's one thing that Tiffany is not, it's TI fanny. It's not in her conscious state. We can conclude that for sure. You will see occasional selective uses of it, like finders, keepers, losers, rapers. You lose, therefore you weep, which is in a way conditionality.
Mm-hmm.
But
That
you know,
counts.
she uses it completely arbitrarily as she sees fit. Right? She's just as likely to get it wrong. You know, like. Well, he carried me out of the desert. Of course it's a dolphin. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
But from her perspective, she's drawn a valid conclusion
Okay.
from those premises.
Do I find her entertaining because she's my semi-dual?
I don't know why you find her interesting. I think it's hard to not like to dislike Tiffany. She's just there's something very likable about her.
Well, some people can't understand her. I understand her.
Well, sometimes she's more difficult to understand than other times. Depends how much almond milk she's had.
That makes sense.
And she's deep in her cups. She might talk like that, you know. You've had enough vodka, Tiffany. Anything about Rod? She's a very likable person, I think, because she has like the, you know, like I picture her as a little Mexican boy who's like brimming with confidence and oh sí, and he's full of he's like a little 6-year-old man who's full of confidence in himself.
I was gonna say full of vigor.
Yeah, full of vigor, full of optimism, enthusiasm, and the audacity to tackle anything.
Yeah.
It's like a person before they've been crushed by the realities of the world, because Tiffany is so much like that little Mexican kid that the world just becomes what she wants it to be.
And she's very much like Britney Spears.
She is a lot like Britney Spears, except she's more powerful than Britney Spears. Because Tiffany can find just about anything, and it becomes hers.
That's true. But Britney doesn't steal, she pays.
Tiffany doesn't steal either. She finds. People lose, she finds.
She finds.
She keeps, they weep. These are the laws of the universe. You lost your wallet in your back pocket. No, it's fine. Well. What are we going to do now? Good to see you. I like your stories. Well, thanks, James Ortiz. Maybe I should tell you a story. What kind of story would you like? Would you like to be a traditional folk tale? Say, the story of Hansel and Gretel? Sure, I'll tell you that. Once upon a time, there were two children named Hansel and Gretel. And they had terrible parents who said, "Get out of here, you kids. We can't
Really
feed you any
terrible.
longer. And you keep eating all my food. Get out of here." And so Hansel and Gretel are like, "Fine. But, we might have to come back later, so can we have a bag of breadcrumbs?" And the parents are like, "Fine. Here are your breadcrumbs. Now go out into the woods." So the children went out, and Hansel and Gretel, I think it was Gretel, maybe, who was leaving the breadcrumbs to make a trail back to their house. Neither of the children had thought this through at all. Because obviously, in a forest full of squirrels, birds, and other hungry creatures, those breadcrumbs weren't going to last. Indeed, even had the creatures not consumed them, it was a breezy day, and breadcrumbs have a tendency to fly away very easily in the face of a strong wind. Regardless, it wasn't too long before they turned back to check their trail, and alas, there was no breadcrumb trail. And now what were they going to do? They were completely lost in the forest. It was getting dark. So Hansel said, "Fear not, dear sister. I say we should walk in that direction, and hopefully we'll come across something that looks helpful." So they did walk in that direction, and soon enough they came to a clearing where there was a house in the middle of it. But this was no ordinary house. Instead of being made of wood, bricks, mortar, and other building materials, this house had strangely been made entirely out of candy. Now, sure, I think we can all agree that by licking pieces of candy, you can cause them to stick to one another, and that can provide a fairly fast adhesive. But my question, and I'm sure yours as well, good listener, is what happens to this house when it rains? Had it not rained since they built the house? Perhaps we'll never know. Perhaps the owner of the house had some special tarp that she brought out during when the weather looked bad and protected the home from moisture. It's hard to say. But what's easy to say is that Hansel and Gretel looked at this house like a eating dream come true. Normally they had to subsist on thin gruel and little sticks and pebbles. But now, a house made of sweet, sweet candy. So Hansel and Gretel, they walked up to the house, and they're like, "Well, let's look for a place on the house where we could break off some of this candy, ideally without doing too much damage, and then we'll have candy for dinner." I know some people would say that's not a good food to eat for dinner, but for you and me, given that we're starving and accustomed to thin gruel, I think we scored. So Gretel put aside her concerns about diabetes, and together they looked for a piece of candy to break up from the side of the house. Soon enough, they found one, and with a pull, it stepped free. Well, it was just then that the front door to the candy house opened, and who should come out but a wizened old woman with a nose wart right on the tip of her nose and a tall, pointy hat. Now, the children had not been exposed to a lot of literature, but they had encountered a few witch stories, and Gretel pointed and squealed, "Ee!" speak. And Hansel said, it's a witch, to no one in particular. And the lady said, don't call me a witch. And she stomped over and grabbed both of them by the wrist and said, you've broken my house. Now you're in trouble. So she dragged them into the house. She sat them down in chairs, which were not made of candy. Turned out the candy on the outside was just a facade. Underneath the candy was normal building materials. Anyhow, they sat in the chairs and she said, you just wait here. And then she turned on the oven to 400 degrees. It was a largish oven, but realistically, she was being ambitious and thinking she could fit both children into this oven. Regardless, she was musing about that as she waited for the oven to heat up. And Hansel said, what are we doing? Why do we have to wait here? Can we leave now? She said, no, little children. You have to be punished for eating my house. And they said, well, we didn't even get to eat it. As soon as we broke it off, you came and you got us, and we haven't even had any bites of candy. And so she said, oh, very well. And she gave them back the piece of candy they had broken off the house. So they split it in two, they broke it in half again, and then they were eating that candy. And they kind of forgot about the fact that there was a witch, and they stopped worrying about their safety so much. And then she said, well, time to get in the oven. And she grabbed both of them by the scruff of the neck and stuffed them into the oven. She couldn't really fit them, but they were horribly being burned as she was trying. Oh. Finally, she got a jabbing pole and jabbed them in there and closed the oven door and cooked them to a golden brown. And then she feasted on them for dinner, saying, I can taste the candy in their system. And the moral of the story is, don't be too abused children in a forest.
Or anywhere.
Anywhere, but if you don't want to get eaten by a witch.
No, you don't want to get eaten by a witch.
I think that's how that story goes. I actually don't really.
You did a very good telling of it, actually. I thought you were going to deviate. You did a little bit, but like not fully. You told this whole story, front to back.
Isn't that what happens in the story? They get eaten? Or do they escape?
Get stuffed in the oven.
I mean, so are you saying she wants to cook them but not eat them?
I guess she eats them.
I mean, it's possible she wants to cook them for some other reason than eating them. But no, I can't really think of any other reason why you cook them.
She doesn't want to eat them. I don't know. Should we ask ChatGPT?
Yeah, ask ChatGPT what happened to the Hansel and Gretel.
I have to ask.
Is your mother alive? No. What type is Zizek, in my opinion? Well, I've said in the past, I think he's an amoral ENTP. Because...
Finish yours.
Because his gobbledygook is nonsense and gobbledygook, but it doesn't feel like the same kind of nonsense and gobbledygook that, say, Foucault is guilty of, which is somebody who's ENFP, or Springer is an ENFP. Okay. What happens at the end of Hansel and Gretel?
The classic fairy tale ending. So at the end of Hansel and Gretel, after all their troubles, the kids outwit the witch. Gretel pushes her into her own oven, which is pretty dark, but definitely a satisfying twist. Then they find the witch's treasure, make their way back home, and reunite with their father, who's overjoyed to see them. And they all live happily ever after with no more wicked witches in sight.
In the original version of the story, did the witch eat the children?
In the original Grimm Brothers version, the witch definitely plans to eat the children. That's kind of her whole deal. She fattens Hansel up like he's a little holiday roast. But Gretel turns the tables before any actual eating happens. So while the witch definitely has every intention of making a meal out of them, she never actually gets to chow down. So the kids get out just in time.
Well, I guess my remembrance of Hansel and Gretel was wrong. Because Little Red Riding Hood, she and her grandmother get eaten by the wolf.
Yeah.
But they then, at
Well,
least
I
in some
thought they
versions of the
stuffed- yeah, I
story, they
thought
get
they
cut
stuffed
out
it.
of the stomach by the hunter.
I thought they were stuffed into an oven, the kids. I'm like, wow, this is dark. But I guess it's the witch that gets pushed into the oven.
So what's the most possible type he could be? He could be an ENFP, but it's been a while since I've read it. I have to look at it again. It seems like it was more aware gobbledygook than an ENFP who's like totally believes in their gobbledygook, even though it doesn't mean anything, or it's just totally wrong. It means something, but it's totally wrong, like Springer. Foucault also means something, but it's totally wrong. Zizek doesn't mean anything because it's almost like he's being intentionally so dense and convoluted that nobody can tell if it makes sense or not. It doesn't, but you can use it in debate as a time suck. You run Zizek, it's difficult to explain why he's wrong because it's difficult to isolate what his warrant is because he's not really making um, good arguments. He's ultimately settling in on reification stuff as his fundamental, the engine of his bullshit, which is to say affording non-agents agency, which is often a ENFP, ESFP kind of mistake, but it could also be the kind of mistake that basically anybody who uses NI is prone to seeing agency in institutions, groups, and stuff of a sort that they don't necessarily have. But I think he's just an amoral ENTP coke addict who sells complete nonsense lectures about capitalism to privileged college students so he can buy more coke and bang co-eds. Whether he does the latter, I have no idea. But I've heard it among the debate community that he's into cocaine.
Interesting.
And what he definitely does do is sell lectures to privileged college students, explaining to them things about capitalism in words that don't mean anything, but that the students don't recognize that it's all bullshit because it sounds so dense and wordy and stuff. So, he is an ENTP. If he is an ENTP, maybe he doesn't bang the co-eds. He's just into the drugs.
Well, he could be like an unhealthy version. Like if Hitler is an INFJ, he's definitely like the negative INFJ.
Yeah, well, I think Zizek is just super cynical. And
that sucks.
And it's just like, you want this flavor of bullshit? Okay, $60 a ticket.
No, I say no. I mean, maybe I would have bought that bullshit I don't know, 7 years ago, but
I think people are more susceptible to certain kinds of things when they have certain kinds of stressors,
yeah, that makes sense.
So when life overall is being unfair to you, you are a person is more likely to seek some kind of polarizing answer. Like, critiquing capitalism is a nice polarizing answer. You get to blame the corporations,
That's
blame
true.
the super rich,
I've been there.
and
Yeah.
feel all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Self-righteous.
But when things are generally good, maybe you're less susceptible to that kind of boogeyman blaming stuff. because you feel in general that life is fair, so you can better cope with the nuanced reality of things that are complicated.
I do think life is fair.
What do you think about Sam Harris? I think he's quite a good thinker, actually, in general. I I can tell you one argument that I heard from him that I never heard before that I liked a lot. He made the argument that one good reason to support gun rights is that they allow they level a playing field that before firearms heavily weighted in favor of young, strong men. Because if violence is only possible with the use of knives, fists, clubs, bludgeons, etc., then you can reliably break into my house if you know I'm an old man and you're a couple of young thugs or several. You can reliably break into the house and know that you will be able to overpower the occupants and there's nothing they can do about it. In a reality where there are gun rights, now strong young people no longer enjoy that insurmountable physical advantage. They have to worry about without the communist depression, I am absolutely sure I would now be a local stupid professor of philosophy in Ljubljana. Okay. So one reason we know that he's a good thinker is he articulated that argument, which I'd never heard before, which is a good argument. It makes a lot of sense to say, in the event of somebody breaking in my house, do I want the outcome to be predicated on who's stronger? If someone doesn't value evidence, what evidence are you going to provide to prove that they should value it? If someone doesn't value logic, what logical argument could you provide to show the importance of logic? Right. Well, those are fine questions, but the point is, our job in being correct is not to get others to agree. It's to present words with which others will necessarily agree if they do a disinterested, accurate calculation on them.
Is it okay that, like, I used to be like, fuck corporations, like, and steal in the mall?
I mean, that was your old self that you've grown from, right?
Sorry about that.
Look, we both have plenty of years behind us that are full of mistakes that we've learned from. It's perhaps the most simple thing to do is to hate oneself for one's past mistakes. But the optimal thing to do is to recognize that wasn't me that did those things. That was this old me that I no longer am. That was the me before I grew and learned from these mistakes.
Yeah, I was young.
You have a question, but you don't know how to ask it? So Sam Harris's questions there are fine questions, but that's just trying to explain why being correct doesn't convince people. And that's fine, but it's not really it's kind of missing the point. I have a question, but I don't know how to ask it. Do I have a master in English? No, I have a BA in English, just a bachelor's degree in English. And I would have been better off if I could have done so going straight from high school to being a debate coach. If I had done that, I would have learned more than I ever would have learned in college. And I would have become a better thinker sooner. I don't know. Going to college, it's not a period of my life that I reflect back fondly upon. I wasn't especially happy in college.
There was I.
Um, Obviously, I have lots of general memories of college. Like, I can remember the places. I can picture, like, the bookstore and Crown College and College Aid and stuff like that. Do I recommend people go to college? No, I don't recommend you go to college unless you're going into something like medicine or law. Uh, Maybe, for example, some kind of biogenetic stuff.
I apologize. Like, you definitely would be a good lawyer. Like, I didn't mean to be like, oh my god, it's so difficult to be like, you have to go to court, like, and you have a calendar. Like, I didn't mean to.
I mean, I'd only be good at certain kinds of lawyer and certain parts of that job.
Yeah, and I can help because I have experience in editing um, the documents. And a lot of lawyers work from home now.
Hmm. Well, that's something that's conceivable that could happen now at this point in my life. It's like I've not actually thought about it at all, but conceivably I could go to law school and pass the bar. Or I could probably pass the bar without going to law school, but I'd have to do some studying.
You definitely have to study.
Yeah, yeah. You have to understand. You have to know case law pretty well. I do know case law pretty well, but only in certain areas of case law. I'd have to see what areas of case law are being tested. If it's simply understanding legal principles and how and whether they apply in hypothetical situation X, I could slay that thing without an ounce of studying. But
That's good.
if it actually tests case law a lot, then I'd have to do some studying because I have to
I
study
don't
areas of case law that I'm
know.
not familiar with.
I'm not sure. I've heard. I told. I like when they announced that uh Kim Kardashian didn't pass the bar. I made a comment like, didn't this already happen? She's been at this for so long.
It makes me feel relieved about the bar test. It's like there needs to be some barrier to entry into that field, right? And that seems like a good uh, barrier test. If Kim Kardashian can get past this, your test is not hard enough.
That's true. It's true. It's, but I said I was like go to school. I was like, well, no, not go to school, but I was like, plus there's school. Like, I don't know. I would have to. I feel like I would have to go to school for law.
I think in most states, maybe all, certainly California, you pass the bar. You have to go to law school and pass the bar. You just pass the bar. Is Kim really an ISTJ? Who's Kim?
Kardashian.
Oh, Kim Kardashian? I don't know what type she is. I would suggest she's probably not an ISTJ because her relationship with Effie seems not right. It's she's not clearly an Effie type, but she clearly cares about or wants to control how others perceive her.
Don't all of them?
All the Kardashians? Probably. But the question is Kim an ISTJ?
I don't think she is.
And to the extent that she is at least somewhat conscious of and wants to control the perceptions of others, then she's not an ISTJ because that's not FE polar. It could be FE6. Um, FE6 and ESFPs anyway tends to look a lot like this is how you are to perceive me.
She reminds me of my roommate from college, V.
Was she an ESFP?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lithian monad. I mean, I do a good job as a public defender. I don't think it pays much better than substitute teacher, but it would potentially be more interesting. But I don't think now's a great time to undertake a lengthy and expensive education process. It's something I could consider adding on to my schedule after I get a job if I really got a bug up my ass. Because at least potentially there's the prospect of making more money as a lawyer than you can make as a substitute teacher or even a full-time teacher. For example, if I were to specialize in corporate law, that would be boring but lucrative. Yeah, I think I'd do extremely well on the LSAT. I'd be a better criminal defense attorney because, at least by my understanding of how those attorneys are judged, right? So, a defense attorney is a good defense attorney if they get their client off. A prosecutor is a good prosecutor if they compel the defendant into a plea bargain without having to go to trial by leveraging various threats, like if you don't plea bargain, I will additionally charge you with these other felonies that you're not really guilty of, because maybe I can make it stick, and maybe it will, and you don't want to take that chance, do you? You spend 20 years in jail. I would not accept any plea bargains. I don't believe in plea bargains. I would say, if you cops are bringing to me an actual criminal who's committed an actual crime, then they need to go to jury trial and be sentenced to the maximum. If they've done something that appalls the conscience, right, that is well deserving of full retributive justice, then they need to be prosecuted in front of a jury so they don't get a bargain, right? If we're not confident enough that they're guilty to put it in front of a jury, then why are we confident enough to send them to prison on a plea bargain? So most people in the prosecutorial department would say I would not be a good prosecutor. I say I would be the ideal prosecutor, one who prosecutes ferociously genuine crimes that need retributive justice, and one that is likely to not prosecute things that for which the interests of justice don't coincide with the interests of prosecution. I'm not going to prosecute those. And to actually prosecute all the cases I prosecute, not avoid prosecuting them by leveraging plea of disempowered defendants. Empowered, ill-informed, ill-advised, and non-intuitive clients who do not trust that if you're innocent, the jury will find you not guilty. Even if you've got the winning case for sure, because they might be NI polar like my dad, who didn't trust the strength of any case because once you are involved in the legal process, then it's all a crapshoot. You never know. You can't operate like that, of course. You have to be operating under the assumption that if I am innocent, a jury will find me not guilty because I didn't commit the crime. So of course I want a jury trial. Of course I'm not worried about your threats of additional prosecutions because I didn't do anything. Unfortunately, most people don't think like that. Oh, prosecutors are way more corrupt than defense lawyers. Defense lawyers are just doing everything they can within the rules of the game to get their client off. There's nothing corrupt about that. They're just doing their job, and it's not a very popular job when they successfully get off guilty people. Prosecutors, though, represent the state and necessarily have the interest of justice in their job description. Yet they ignore the interest of justice constantly in pursuit of attaining, like, marks above the bed of their career path, you know? Oh, I've successfully prosecuted all these people. I must be good at my job. You're only good at your job if those people deserved what happened to them. Your Honor, can we take a 5-minute recess for bong rips? Or unless you wanted me to pull them right in here. Could I just pull them right here? What makes you angry in general? Shit like that, you know? People interfacing things that should be action deliberation things. You can't interface the legal system by saying, well, oh no, I don't know for sure if I'm going to win because the jury might side with, you never know. You have to operate under the assumption that the right things will be evaluated, that you have a competent advocate. So it's like if I were a defense attorney, or be it public defender or otherwise, the only time I would ever advise my client to take a plea deal is if the case against them was the winning case. I would say, I can do my best to dissemble here and to try to hide this fact that they got the winning case. But they have the winning case. They have you dead to rights. The chances of you getting acquitted here are very, very slim because you actually are factually guilty and they can prove it. So if they're going to offer you a plea, take it because you're going to be found guilty if you go to trial. In all other instances, I would tell my client, obviously take a plea bargain because the burden is on them to make their case. And there's not enough here for them to make their case, and or these exculpatory pieces of evidence contradict the main narrative they have. It's more than enough to create reasonable doubt, etc. Never take a plea bargain. I don't care if they threaten you with the death penalty. They're just bluffing because they'll never get that past the jury because you have the winning case and you have me articulating it for you. Is Putin SI or NI front stack? I don't know. I don't know what type he is. But I guess the things I consider as possibilities are all NI types. So probably NI front stack. But I really don't know. I'm just speculating. So if he's ISTP, then he's NI front stack. That's NI front stack. NI third. That's one of the types I consider. Yeah, that's front stack. Front stack just is 1, 2, 3, or 4. What are they hollering? Like somebody lost or something? And there's Grustrier hollering for something. I can't hear what they're saying. They might be saying Leo. They might be hollering for the dog to come inside because it started coming down pretty hard. Their dog. I'm not sure how much time it spends just wandering around the neighborhood, but it spends a decent amount of time doing that because their dog's cool and she comes to visit me sometimes. She's really sweet. Who would you say is objectively the best philosopher? Well, by best, do you mean most correct? Because if you mean most correct by best, then unfortunately, the group of people to evaluate is limited to those who have their understandings of life, the universe, and everything framed by cognitive functions. If you don't have that, then you seem doomed to flail about indefinitely, as I was flailing about indefinitely before I learned about cognitive functions. I'll give you the same example I usually give about this, which is before I learned about cognitive functions, I struggled with understanding what truth meant, in the sense that I was stuck in some frame lock regarding knowledge, belief, empirical stuff versus now. I was fixated on the artifacts of what I now understand to be like epistemological archiving. In other words, categorizing things that you have already determined or known. But prior to cognitive functions, I thought, mused and philosophized about these questions for great lengths of time, recording videos of myself trying to think it out and keep getting stuck at this spot, and uploading it to YouTube just because I thought I might want to reference it later. Then I learned about cognitive functions. Then those questions become really easy to answer. It becomes really easy to answer. What's knowledge? It's either somebody using intuition to holistically know the status of something, or it's somebody using experience to know what they remember, have learned, have experienced. So it's a way of paying attention. So then the question of, well, what's the difference between knowledge and belief is simple. Knowledge is what we call the artifacts of our knowing things, is one thing it is. So I might say, I know I saw Tony because I recognize him, and that was definitely Tony. In that case, I'm using experience because I know who Tony is and recognize him. I'm also using my intuition. Maybe I didn't see all of them, but I know that shape, those clothes, everything. I didn't see the front of him, but I know that's Tony. I'm using my intuition there as well, right? My intuition might be wrong. That's not Tony, just somebody who looks very much like him when he turns around. My experience might be wrong. That does look just like Tony, but it's not him. It's a different guy who just looks like him. So knowledge is just as likely to be wrong as belief, or maybe not just as likely, because people, when they use the word belief, what are they doing? That's the question that cognitive functions keeps bringing you back to. What are people doing when they So what are people doing when they use the word belief? They're saying they want to qualify the amount of certainty they're ascribing to this knowledge. I believe it was last Tuesday. Actually, I know with my memory that it was last Tuesday, but I don't trust that memory because it was a week ago and I'm having some piece of data indicating to me maybe it was Monday, for example. Do I like the existentialists? I mean, it is that you're going to die, so keep forefront in your mind the stark reality of that. Is that their message? Definitely an Athenian, some Greek. So TI Dom is building a logical framework and FI Dom is building a value framework. No, TI Dom is determining things using a disinterested calculus. FI Dom is determining things using an interested calculus. So there's no building involved in TI. TI is a parsing function. It determines things. It does not build things. It makes determinations about things that are already built. It makes determinations about maybe something that you're building as to whether this thing validates or not. You might use it to jettison certain building progresses, but TI is not building functions. It's not action function.
I have a question about TI. I feel like I'm shy about my TI.
You're shy about it?
Yeah. Like, I know I can do it, but I have to be slow, and then I also am better at paper.
I think what you're just describing there is you don't like the way your third slottedness of your TI works in conjunction with FE. In other words, it doesn't look good or something. But in a similar way, I don't like the way that my third slotted FE interacts with my TI because I want to explain things and tell people how it is, but that's not good FE. That makes people not have good experiences to be corrected and stuff, right? So it's like your tool function is making you aware of how your TI doesn't like express as robust as you'd like it to be, because it makes you feel you're perceived as dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your TI is doing its job for your configuration, right? You are acutely aware of issues of fairness, and you seek out TI sound explanations when you know something's bullshit but don't understand why.
Yeah, and I go to you.
Right.
For that.
And so that's just your TI having its spot in the world. Like, I wish that my TI played better FE wise, but it doesn't. And that doesn't mean I'm going to become more FE ultimately. It just means I have to deal with the fact that I want to score points in FE, but I'm using a TI tool all the time.
Okay, so like me with my FE and TI, where does that go on the emotional wheel? I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, you're embarrassed.
Yeah, and then what?
That's it.
Oh, that's it.
There's no other levels for that one. So let me answer these questions. Aren't they equal in the rationality or irrationality of where they focus their attentions to build these frameworks? I don't think of TI or FI as being rational or irrational. TI is disinterested and engages with whether or not something validates for everybody. And TI is interested and concerns itself with whether or not something validates for me. My feelings might tell me I don't like the way that person's being treated. It's still my feelings validating it for me. I don't need to be able to understand why or explain why they're being treated badly for me to want to intervene and stop them from being treated that way. Because my feelings are telling me this isn't right and that this is important to me and that's what matters and nothing else matters. So they're not it is the case that TI people are going to be perceived as or be described as rational more often, and FI people might be described more often as irrational. But I think those are not the right terms to use for the functions. They're both calculations that validate on their own criteria.
I feel like I'm so irrational.
Really? Like about what?
I don't know, irrational fears. Like fucking everything.
Aren't the focus of their parsing equally rational though? Well, they're equally legitimate, right? It's it's legitimate and probably advisable to make determinations and by looking to see whether or not it benefits you, how much it benefits you or harms you, whether or not you get what you want, protect what you want, etc. It's going to help you to structure a life that you want to live, prioritize things that are most important to you, etc. So that's a great way to make determination. It's the most sensible way if you're looking to live well, then be concerned about your own interests. It does not make much sense to be my cognitive function configuration where instead of attaining any outcomes that are advantageous to me from the things that I do, I constantly deprioritize that and just periodically feel frustrated at fluttering in oblivion while concurrently not prioritizing anything that would change that. So that's difficult because what am I prioritizing instead? I'm prioritizing being correct and saying words that are defensible and explaining things correctly. And I am not prioritizing making it a media product that you want to consume. So Sabine, she has done a great job of creating a hugely successful YouTube channel where she explains why Mia is wrong.
I like that.
And good for her. She's done a fantastic job of doing that. And I do believe she's an ENTP. But, you know, she makes relatively consistent kind of videos, right? Long form videos where she comes across something in the scholarly literature and then builds a case against it and uses mostly reasoning critiques to explain why whoever made this got lost track of the forest for the trees, you know, or vice versa, whatever you want to say. Eric, if you want to know on what look like people don't know much about cognitive functions, but talking about them, you should just go to personality database. People there say she is that type because she said so. No, I do not need any more data on what it looks like when people don't know shit about cognitive functions but talk about them anyway. I have infinite examples of that in my experience here on YouTube being a cognitive function person. Is it frustrating? Yes, because you know, it's just basically because they and I are thinking about cognitive functions differently. They're thinking about it as something they can intuitively play around with, maybe see connections where there are things, and arbitrarily draw distinctions without indicating whether it's this kind or that kind or anything, and that it's a fun way to know themselves. Now I know I'm not just like a fun, creative person. Now I know that I'm an ENTP. Or because I identify with these adjectives that this dumb type description used to describe that type.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even know they're doing anything wrong, right? They don't get that this is the key to unlocking the answer to all kinds of questions that are heretofore unanswerable. So, like Kant struggled with the idea of how can we understand moral obligations with reason when it's the case that people who make moral decisions and provide moral justifications are largely completely unaware of any rational, non magical thinking way of parsing out moral obligations. So, if it is, even if it is something you can justify adequately with reason for negative moral obligations, that's not how anyone actually does it. My ability to type is much better than my actual understanding of the functions. Okay, so what you're saying there, Dead Star, is that you intuit what someone's type is. And that's all well and good. But this is the thing about knowledge. You don't need to to determine it, right? Because generally it can't be determined. Like, I can't determine whether a song I hear is fantastic or terrible or somewhere in between. I just have to know that. I know it with my intuition, but I have to experience it some amount of time to fully know it, unless it's bad, in which case I can know that right away usually. Maybe like that. But the thing is, and I'm 100% convinced that what I know about music is correct. That when I know a song is great, it's because it is great, objectively. And when I know a song is shitty, it's because it is shitty, objectively. But you'll note that even though I know those things, and I have certainty because I know them, and that's how knowing feels, right? There's no way to check if I'm right. There's no way to determine if it's great. Any specific set of benchmarks you might set up or any test you might try to apply to determine whether a song is great will fail inevitably, because the greatness of a thing is the combination of all its disparate parts working together perfectly. You can't say the reason the car runs is because of the spark plugs. The reason the car runs is because none of the necessary components are broken. So that's what knowledge is that it lets you know something because you remember it from your experience or whatever, in which case it can't be determined. You can't, there's no third way to check your memory besides just remembering it. There's no like external third party way to check your memory. Unless, well, sometimes there is. Like I remembered that there was some sign at this restaurant I went to that just said buns and shakes. And that's why I called it just buns and shakes. Then we went to the restaurant and there were no such sign existed. All of them said Yosemite buns and shakes. So the only thing I can conclude is I just kind of blinded out the Yosemite because that word's on everything in Oakhurst, Regardless, I knew that there was one sign there that had led me to believe it was just called buns and shakes. And I was wrong. And we were able to check that. But by and large, things that we remember or know from our experience don't have that opportunity to go check and see.
Can I give you a kiss? I love you.
I love you too. What type do you think Sarah MBTI is? I don't know Sarah MBTI. I don't know how quiet your mic has been last few streams. Is there lint in the mic slot? Or is it quiet? Do I have a case on this? Yes, I do have a case on this. Let me take the case off. Well, that was super frustrating. Is that a wrap? No, it's not a wrap. I just got very frustrated because I was trying to take this case off of the phone and it didn't want to come off. So in that case, the subcategory of frustration I would feel was thwarted. If you saw one of those feelings, it was thwarted. Thwarted by this horribleness of this case. Does it sound better? Or does it still sound bad? I could try to suck it out with a vacuum. Well, you know, I don't need that case on the phone anyway. That case just makes it bigger than it needs to be. That's all it does. Okay, now I have to adjust this grabber.
I would tell Trump to suck my butt.
That's fair. He would probably already non-consensually be sucking it.
No. Actually, I retract all of that. Only you can kiss my butt. Is that okay?
Sure. My third slot SI is sure about shit sorry. I really hate people being sure about shit. I don't hate people being sure about shit. What I'm saying is that, like, my intuition, I also trust it a lot. In fact, whatever I intuit, because of the knowledge function, I definitionally don't distrust it. I'm going to know that, right? But the difference between intuition, knowing something, and TI, determining something, is that NI, knowing something, cannot defend its claim. And if your justification for knowing something is your intuition, then we can't test that knowledge to see if it's legitimate except by some non-intuition fashion. So I have tons of people who use their intuition to type people. And they say things like, sorry, Eric, you're wrong about this guy. That's definitely no SE Dom. And that's the complete comment, right? Because they haven't determined he's not an SE Dom. They know he's not an SE. Well, that's all well and good. You know, it is the case that I also know with my intuition that he is an SE Dom. I just don't, that's not how I came to that conclusion. So we both know with our intuitions a person's type, but we disagree. We're at an impasse. We're at a standstill. There's no way to determine who's correct because neither of them use determination metrics to make their conclusion. But since I type people with a determination metric, everybody can access the kind of questions I'm asking and can access what they reveal, what certain answers reveal about those questions. They can use those questions themselves and see if, in fact, they get the same range of responses that they see in my typing videos, and note that those range of responses do fall into certain categories, and that when somebody is, say, polar in this, that also correlates with responses being as predicted for this other thing and this other slot, right? So it's got all of those things going on. It doesn't mean my typing method is correct necessarily, but at least when I type somebody, you know that you can critique me by saying, hey, Eric, those answers were TI polar. They had no idea it was TI, but you typed them TI fourth. But that's clearly an example of a TI polar positive test. And then I have to say, okay, well, let me look at you right. Actually, I don't know why I trusted my intuition rather than my tests. That's what gets me in trouble when I trust my intuition rather than my tests. Yes? You want to
I
do
had
something?
this experience, yeah. Um, oh, I'm. Where's nervous on this?
That would be under anxiety.
Okay.
Are you not up to it?
Uh,
Not in control? Or other others other shoe? Oh, waiting for the other shoe to fall to drop. Are you not up to the challenges of the future? Are
not in
you
control.
not in control? What are you feeling not in control about?
Going to the dentist that they're not gonna judge my teeth.
Look, Rachel, look at
My
my teeth.
gums, like.
You're not gonna judge you, sweetie. They see people like me all the time. They're not gonna judge you.
But my gums, like, I don't brush all the time, and I hope it doesn't. I hope it's not painful. Like, I want them to clean it for sure, but I don't want it to be painful because then I won't want it to get done for a long time. I don't like that.
This may be wrong because I don't type most of the people in chat that I maybe draw some conclusions about. But I tend to think that INTPs ask more questions of me than other types do. And they ask more like incisive questions. We are not duals. We are just a mirage.
Mm-hmm.
We're a beautiful, beautiful mirage. No, I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson is an NTP. I think he's way too amazed by simple, not impressive stuff all the time to be an NTP. INFJ, ENTP, they call us the golden pair. Kiersey does. So Sionic says, no, that's fake gold. It's just a mirage.
Yeah, I don't like it.
But I think we're very well suited for one another because we're both maximally skewed towards communication and away from experience, sensation.
Speaking of communication, my white hair is coming out like really wiry and stuff. So I think I'm gonna go short once it turns like all of it like that. I do not want to make that. I'll go short again if you don't mind.
I
Like,
don't care, Rachel. Yeah, Rachel's an INFJ. When I first typed her when we first typed her, I typed her as ENFJ with a little wiggle room. I think, if I remember correctly. But
no, it was straight up ENFJ. I was convinced I was.
I don't know why. Did I not give you a TE polar test?
No. There was no SE poll.
I don't know. I guess I was typing you with Spacey, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That was disruptive to my process.
And like my TI, I just like asked you like over and over again to reiterate, like
repeat the question.
Yeah.
Well, that's your bad essay.
So that's why,
I said TI fourth because you were slow on the TI stuff or whatever. Well, that's not a good reason to say TI fourth because the TI polar test is it determines polar 1, 2, and nothing else.
Well, then you asked me about my relationship with my mom. I said it was tough, and then you asked what type she was, and I said ESTJ, and you're like, oh, that's I was like, oh, it makes a lot of sense. I've always wondered why.
Okay, well, that would be after I'd already typed you that. That's not a reason I typed you that. So the thing is, I did a poor job because I was typing you with Spacey and that disrupted my process. Regardless, by the time she'd been in LA for a month, it was obvious to me that she was not an extrovert and that she was not an ENFJ accordingly. but more importantly, that she was NI above FE because of a lot of different reasons. Where her SI plays out as, how her SI plays out at 8th rather than 7th.
Gee, I was wrong. I'm not a 7. I'm a 9.
Yeah, she's not a 7. Yeah, she's a 9.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel was wrong about her enneagram and
Yeah,
her personality type because, and that is absolutely super consistent with INFJ because
Why?
you have SI8, the most unconscious function is any of the experience that you might know from about yourself.
God, yeah,
and then
no.
FI is 6, countervalued and unconscious, and accordingly, you also don't know subjectively your parsings on subjective levels. So all the all the epistemics about who you are, you try to go around it, you go about it totally the wrong way. So Rachel tries to look to other people and general maps to determine who she is. When you ask an INFJ to self-report, they don't do well with that kind of data because it means they've had to store it with SI that's ultra unconscious. And if it's subjective data that links to FI, well, they have an avoidant relationship with it because it's 6. I mean, I don't think he's an INFJ, no, Billy Corgan. I don't think his FE's good enough. But it's possible, I guess, that if he's an INFJ who's been in enough of a, I don't think so though, enough of a isolation bubble of affirmation from a bunch of fanboys or something, and maybe he could get that FE bad, but I don't really think that's super consistent with INFJs. Right, Dead Star, but we've already established that you aren't determining a person's type, you're just intuiting it. Since you trust your intuition and you think all of your typings are right and you're not validating them with any other mechanism, then what you're saying is you know in ways that do not communicate that he's an INFJ. I'm not saying it's impossible, but what I always stress to everybody is there's no point in discussing the types of people that neither of us will ever get to type. So let's say you had an opportunity to just sit down for an hour and talk to him, ask him whatever questions you want, type him however you feel like. Then you could say the reason he's an INFJ is because he answered these questions in these ways, and that's it. Since neither of us will get to type him, there's no end talking about it because you're knowing with your intuition. I'm remaining undecided with my intuition. You know, without any actual determination, there's no resolution of the issue. There's no reason why I should think you're right, and there's no reason why you should think I'm right.
I used to think that the rat high fived the pig at the end of the race.
I mean, I do think artistic work product, is probably is pretty revelatory, and I would say that Smashing Pumpkins work product is not out of the realm of possibility that's INFJ work product. But what I'm saying is because you're knowing rather than determining, it's not a process I can replicate. So I can't check it, right? If I determine somebody's a certain type using an assessment, then you can check to see if I did the assessment correctly, if I did it consistently with how I normally do the assessment, if I drew conclusions consistent with what I say the assessment is ought to direct you to based on those kind of answers, right? Then it can be checked. And we could still disagree. You could say, I checked it. You did it right according to your standards and criteria you set up ahead of time, and according to your explanation for things, you did it in accordance with that. But I just don't agree with the connections you're drawing. I don't think that the thing you think tests whatever actually tests that. You could still say that, but you could but you can concurrently acknowledge that if my framework is right, then I did draw the correct conclusion, because my framework is articulated out in a way that other people can check my work for accuracy. Kurt Cobain, I think, is an INFJ. Although he played the character of the portrait artist very well, but his art's way too NI for an INFP. That's just not INFP music. They have extroverted intuition as a tool function. There's a relentless preference of difference, originality, and what you hear in Nirvana is a lot of of artistically, archetypally resonant stuff, you know? Everything is energy. Well, not really. Matter's not energy right now. It could be converted into energy. I think John Lennon's an ENTP, but I think the genius of the Beatles was Paul McCartney and ENFJ. Although John Lennon certainly qualifies as genius too. Why do I think Cobain? You're asking him, yeah. It's like, if you're going to use your intuition about work product, then what it should tell you about Kurt Cobain stuff is that his lyrics, his song structure and stuff was very NI. It's not wordy. It's not needlessly complicated or being clever or stuff. It attempts to cue into things that are NI resonant. Now, sure, what universalizes better than intellectual ideas are emotional states, right? So, I feel stupid and contagious. Here we are now. Entertain us. And these are NI bits of thing that he's doing, right? If you want to think about an NE work product, you could look at, say, Eminem with his very wordy, clever, convoluted kind of rhymes and stuff. You could look at Fiona Apple with her unnecessary weirdness in her songwriting. Like, she wants it to be different more than she wants it to be good, you know? Okay, well, F, I remember, is a determination function. It's not a way that one makes art. So it is the case that some FI people, they like our neighbor Kay, right? She knows what songs she wants to play based on whether she's experiencing that emotion that's conveyed by that song. In other words, whether she's gonna feel it, right? Whereas I know what songs I want to play because I know which of my songs are good and which of them are not good. So it's the case that she's engaged in the artistic process with her FI, but it's not the case that she's succeeding because of that. So remember, when we write a song that references feelings, we are making art. We are not ourselves feeling things necessarily. For people like INFJs and ENTPs, the idea that there should be a method acting where you have to feel like the character in order to act like that sounds completely insane. As it does the idea that you have to feel strong emotions to make good music. That also seems completely insane to me. And I no doubt it felt completely insane to Kurt Cobain as well. Writing about things that are in the human condition and are resonant with the human condition, and that pop in such a way that they capture the imagination of the youths of that generation so completely. Well, that's the specialty of NIFE. So, when we evaluate his work product, the correct conclusion to draw is NI, maybe jury out on FIFE, but when we also look at how acutely aware he was of image and the burdens of being this icon and the FE implications of that and having to wear this mantle of genius and stuff, that's all wildly typical of INFJs. And not at all typical of INFPs who have plenty of expressing themselves to do and are less particular about whether it's any good or not. You know, you get Kendrick Lamar making massive ENFP albums, way more garbage than anybody could possibly listen to, but he's lionized because of the occasional NI successes he has, right? He's got some hits that pop. He is, after all, an intuitive in the first slot, but to conclude that he's NI would be completely insane. He generates way too much content. He clearly likes the smell of his own farts way too much. He has all the textbook indicators of an ENFP probably because he's a little bit too, present out there doing shit for me to think INFP is likely. Obama, I think Obama's an ENTP, just a weak, terrible ENTP. I wish he weren't, but I think he is.
I feel that about J.K. Rowling.
That she's weak and terrible?
She's not weak and terrible, but she's an INFJ that, she's transphobic. Like, fuck that shit. She has like a group chat on Facebook, like, yeah.
Well, be that as it may, I'm not any less impressed by her Harry Potter books, which were quite remarkable books.
But like, I don't know, but like...
Death Star says Kendrick is a deeply introverted dude. Okay. What makes you say that? Like, what pieces of data are you drawing the conclusion extremely introverted from? Because he self-identifies as a sex addict, which means he's having sex with tons of different people, which Nardwar interview. Okay, well, an interview is not a bad piece of data, but what specifically that he said made you draw that conclusion, or was it his affect?
Well, did he say that he's introverted?
I mean, remember, people can't be trusted to self-identify whether they're an introvert or an extrovert because they're using the term colloquially to mean socially gregarious or not, you know? I like the Harry Potter books. I thought they were great. They were just brilliantly conceived, beautiful bits of intuitive world and story building.
I think I agree, like 100%. But like, you know,
It's also different than like an actor who's bad because she's not in any of the books. None of her characters are transphobic, so I don't have to engage with her bullshit at all, you know? Whereas if I see Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie. And you think about, you're gonna remember these horrible stories I've heard
Anything
about
with
him.
Diddy, like,
Yeah. So that's not a problem with Harry Potter because, look, we could imagine that maybe after she wrote those books, she had a stroke. And it caused her to become against trans people.
okay.
Eric, you have a million great takes on the personality world, but a million horrible types. I don't know what to make of it. Not talking types you interview. Oh, well, what to make of it, Dead Star, is that I understand extroverted intuition as looking a certain way, and introverted intuition as looking a certain way. And I'm comparing the work product of say, Kurt Cobain, his lyrics, for example, against known examples of any lyric writers. For example, they might be giants, or very high extroverted intuition. They have wordy songs that tell convoluted stories or explain things, and they got a song called "Mammals" that talks about everything that makes mammals distinct from other kinds of creatures. I have a song about James K. Polk being a good president. Um, I mean, you got to be careful with information you get from outraged muddle, wallowers. Even if it has some basis in truth, you can be opposed to, like, say, young people getting trans surgery without being hateful to anybody.
Sure, like, okay, look. I'm just expressing that as I say, it disappoints me that there are even rumors about that. Like, I think you can do better.
Yeah, well.
I could be disappointed just like you're disappointed.
Sure, that's fine. I'm not saying you can't be disappointed. Your feelings are valid. What's Avicii's type, and what do you think about his music? I only know one of his songs, and I have no thoughts about his type. I know almost nothing about him. Is Harry and ISFP the character Harry Potter? I don't know, really. It seems plausible. Not very much of a talker. It's hard to type characters because you only get to see the character when they're behaving in ways that are relevant to the story. Like, you don't get to see what Harry Potter's relationship with sleep and other SI stuff is. Or those matters aren't of concern to the story, so they don't get broached. Jotaro? Jotaro? You mean like from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I mean, none of the JoJo's, they were all silent types. They weren't talkers. So, I don't know. No, I'm not into prank calls. I'm not into anything where you're involuntarily involving some other person in your art, what you consider a creative endeavor, or and being the butt of jokes for your amusement or something. I'm not into that at all.
I used to use quarters. Or actually, I think it was free. To call the 1-800 number on the back of Doritos bags and ask why they were only half full. It said because of shipping.
It's just that they're all the way full. It's just half full of air.
He might have said something like that.
And the other thing is, a lot of people don't know this. If you take a bag of Doritos far enough below sea level, it'll flatten all out. There won't be any air.
Oh.
Up here at 4,000 feet, our bags of chips are fully inflated, like they're about to pop open.
Mm-hmm.
Because less atmospheric pressure up here means more pressure inside the bag.
Mm-hmm. So they equate for that in the.
Right. So they have to leave room for bags to inflate. But if they instead packed those bags at a high elevation, then they wouldn't have to do that.
Oh.
Because the bags would all
Thank
go
you.
down.
I feel validated. Like I had a reason. I really did have a reason for being upset that there was like not as many chips as there should be in the bag.
Well, presumably they sell it by weight, not by fullness of bag. Like if I promise to sell you a pound of apples, it doesn't matter if I give you the pound and the bag that barely fits it or a bag is way too big, you still got your pounds of apples.
Oh, okay. I don't remember.
I did not detach the downspout, but
Meow.
I also did not look to see today whether that drain is working or not. But now you've reminded me of it, I want to go look at it. To look at it is a bit involved. I am going to have to get the ladder out to look at the drain and see if it's draining. If it's not draining, I got the snake right there, and I could snake it down. Part of the reason why I didn't detach it is a couple different people suggested against it yesterday on the grounds that either one, when you take apart things that haven't been taken apart in 20 years, they have a tendency to break. Number two, it could potentially defy putting back together, and then the rain starts and I have it apart, and that's much worse than it being clogged, because presumably it's not 100% clogged, because access to the hole is there. It's just there's some tiny little stuff in the hole. I don't know. I was dissuaded from doing it in part because it's much easier to convince me to not take action and wait and let's think and talk about it more than it is for me to power through and want to do it anyway, because I'm an NE Dom. I think talking is action. I'm wrong, but I'm right. It is a form of action, but it's not a very useful form of action. Okay, let's get a flashlight. Let's get butt naked and fuck. To quote the immortal Ice-T in his early album titled The Winds of Love. Get moist, folks. Why, you're not a fan of wings? No, I'm not a fan of wings. I'm not going up on the roof. I'm just going to look in the drain.
You need help?
No, it's fine. All right, I'm on a short ladder looking into a drain that's maybe, 10 feet off the ground, and I'm 6'5". It's not any risk. And the ladder will be on a nice concrete surface. Oh, that's a nice concrete. This ladder has a bunch of junk on it. Okay, let's put this down. This will make it a little more solid too. Okay, let's go. Let's go surfing now. Everybody's learning how. Look in the drain pipe with me. Okay, we're gonna move this over right there. All right, got my light on. Well, it's a little bit clogged because there's water here. Instead of it all being down there. So I could get my snake and try to snake it out in the rain. I'm not sure if I'm really feeling like getting that wet because it's raining quite a bit right now. It's not like a light sprinkle. Maybe later when it's not raining so much. Okay, ladder. You did a great job. You're coming with me. I was stuck down there on the ground, and then you came into my life ladder and got me up into the sky where I belong. Whee-hoo! That's hard to carry and put that back with one hand. What's all that dirt on there? It's dirt from when I cleaned the gutters and I didn't wipe it off before I brought it in here. Stop teasing me. You're hurting my feelings. Thank you, guy who are concerned. Who's the guy who's concerned? If we're concerned about me falling off the ladder? I'm fine. I got ladder-proof feet. A lot of people don't know that. That's an option. But when I chose my feet, I chose ladder-proof feet. Means I can't fall off any ladders. For a superpower, it's pretty weak. But for feet, it's pretty cool. Yeah, my superpower is I can't fall off ladders. Oh, well, I mean, it's not bad. Yeah, it's cool, I guess. I'm a night owl when I'm on amphetamines, usually.
I'm a night owl.
Rachel's a true night owl. She's typically going to go to sleep between, at the very earliest, maybe 2 in the morning.
Sorry.
And sometimes like 4 or 5 or 6 in the morning, maybe she goes to bed. Knock on some damn wood.
When I'm on speed.
Yeah, well, when we're on speed, neither of us really sleep
Yeah,
very much.
but usually 2 in the morning.
Come on, chat. Let's make some of those tiny pancakes in the freezer.
Pancakes?
Pancakes? I like this idea, Ruben. You're really speaking the language of pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I got an alteration to your pancake plan because I don't want to make pancakes with the whole have some batter, pour it, etc. I do have something that's like pancakes that does not require me to do any cooking. What is like a pancake that I can just put in the toaster oven? It's called a waffle.
I forgot we had them.
We do have them. Where are they? Did I finish this morning? We have these cinnamon French toast.
Okay.
Oh, here's the waffles. There are 2 waffles left. Do you want a waffle?
Yes, please.
I'll take one waffle too. And then we'll each get a waffle. I knew we had waffles left. These waffles were made for the Eggo Corporation by the finest waffle chefs of Belgium. Infused with love and the flavor of Belgium, these waffles truly satisfy.
Usually satisfying.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
Pre-caked pans. So they've done the caking but not the cooking? Have they given you a wet batter patty that you have to cook yourself into a truly realized cake? Or have they already done the cooking and you just have to toaster it? Toaster pancakes doesn't make as much sense as toaster waffles, I don't think. Pancakes should be a little too flappy to fit into a toaster without breaking them, I think. If you got a pancake that's durable enough to put into a toaster and take out of a toaster, that's not a fluffy pancake. Or it's too thick of a pancake, potentially.
I've never made pancakes before.
You've never made pancakes before?
Mm-mm.
Maybe we should make pancakes. What do we have as far as pancake mix? Do we have pancake mix? We had it before.
Try. Yeah, look at all the cabinets, honestly.
Here we go. We've got Millville buttermilk pancakes, just add water. That's option number 1. We've got protein pancake and waffle mix. What? You need 1 cup of mix and 3/4 cups of water. You know what's better than water? Milk. I don't know if we have much milk, though. We have very little milk, if any. Pancakes, huh? How many cups of this do you need to make? Let's see. If you want to make 6 to 7 pancakes, you need 1 cup of mix, 3/4 of a cup of milk, ideally.
You're very little. How about a half and half?
Oh yeah, we could use that half and half. If it's still good, can you smell it?
Yeah, it is still good.
Okay. Alright, 1 cup of mix. We can still eat the waffles too. I'll eat the waffles.
Yeah! Of course we will. We're just breakfast people right now.
Well, it's like some cereal company made up. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
You have 2 nipples? Does that include your middle nipple?
You're my middle nipple.
Thanks, darling.
You're welcome.
Finally, something on top of that middle boob. Okay, so 1 cup. 1 cup of pancake mix. A shout out to Cameron, who brought this pancake mix and left it here,
Thank you very much, Cam.
without whom we would have no pancake mix. Put my hat down over there. My hat doesn't need to join this cooking party. Alright, so we're going to pour this into this cup.
Hi, Capu.
Okay.
I love you too.
That's not really a full cup. So a
Meow.
little bit more here. Come on.
Meow.
Don't spill it all over the place there. Okay. Now we're going to
Figure it
need
out.
a stirring container. So, stir it up in something. What I need is a good mixer up bowl. I guess I put it back in the Typology right here. This is the best bowl for mixing things in.
Yeah, it is.
Nice and deep.
Thank you. I love you too.
We're going to put this 1 cup of pancake mix directly into the bowl, like that right there.
Meow.
Then it says add 3/4 of a cup of
Thank you. I love you too, Pee-Pee.
oxymoronically fat-free half and half. How can they still call it half and half, dude?
I don't know.
You just have to call it something else. So I guess they call it fat-free half and half. I just didn't look at that.
Oh, yes, Gabrielle Strauss.
Okay. There's a little more than 3/4 of a cup of half and half, probably. About 3/4 of a cup.
Thank you.
I
I love
eyeballed
you
it
too.
in the 1 cup size rather than getting out the 3/4 cup size. But that's fine. You know, we're not trying to create a nuclear chain reaction or anything. We're just making pancake mix. It's a pancake batter.
You're my pancake mix.
Thanks, pancake batter.
You're welcome.
So, I don't want to get the mixture out to do this, so I'll just use this spoon. I'm going to stir, stir, stir with the stirring arm until everything's all mixed together.
You're like an old-fashioned housewife.
I'm a trad wife.
You are a trad wife. Thank you, Pee-Pee. I love you too.
I'm trad wife like 3 or 4 days a month. Then I'm microwave dinner wife. And oh my god, I have got to vacuum this floor.
What am I?
Is it you're a trad teenager? You like to hole up in your room and snack on things and, you know,
Watch YouTube.
watch YouTube. Look at yourself putting on makeup. This is too thick, friends. It needs a little bit more liquid in here. We'll put a little bit more of this cream. Not cream. Fat-free half and half. That seems about right for pancake batter. Okay. It says 6 to 7 pancakes.
Are you going out?
Batter. 6 to 7 very, very small pancakes, maybe.
Yeah.
Alright, looking good in the neighborhood. Now we're going to get some butter. What you gonna do with the butter?
Oh, I can put it up so it could be a little bit warmer.
Okay, good. What am I going to do with the butter? Well, I'm not going to put it in here. No, I'm going to put it in here. Because, you know, you got to grease the wheels, as they say. Or, in this instance, grease the pan.
I like to grease your pan.
Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome.
So, at the moment, instead of Rachel greasing my pan, I'm greasing this pan. I'm also going to re-put in the waffles with some butter on top.
Yay! Same.
So they get
Classic.
melty butter. And so that the raw side of them gets golden brown instead of just still raw yellow. I don't like my waffles raw yellow. You gotta brownify them. Okay. Now we're getting a little bit of butter on the bottom of this pan. That's gonna help the pancakes interface more successfully with the pan. It's like a nice compliment or a homewarming gift.
Hi, Capio.
Let's see. As we all know, there's a rule of pancakes. First worst. So your first pancake is always going to be the worst pancake. So don't start with a huge one. This is still a little thick, I think. Okay, well that's why I first
Some
went
more,
through.
yeah.
You're having to experiment and learn.
Exactly.
With the power of learning, though, we shall overcome.
With the power of learning, we shall overcome.
Worship together. Yeah, this is better.
Capio,
That's more-
I'm not, like, you're not going out. When I
This is more like
do it.
batter and less like dough now. Okay. This should work a lot better. This first one, we're just gonna say, you are a victim of some bugs in the beta version of this. So,
Sometimes that happens, you know?
well, I can still make you a delicious treat if I can, you know, ultimately if I can cook you the right amount, you'll probably be edible with it. Now, let's try one that's gonna bread properly rather than being too viscous. Okay, that one should work according to the normal physics of the pancake. Namely, I can wait for it to get these bubbles and stuff. This one, that's never gonna bubble up, so it's too thick. This one's already getting the bubbles. You can see them right here. Wait for it to get all bubbles and all the bubbles to break, and then you flip it.
Look at you.
But this one was never going to behave according to that.
Oh, thank you, Capio.
It was too thick. It's still a little too thick.
Oh, thank you, Capio. I love you too.
We're going to meow a bit more. Get nice and liquidy, so it pours easy and cooks better. Okay. This one is still too thick, apparently, because I'm not getting the bubble action that's indicative of it being the right thickness. So both these are going to come out not so great. I'm going to turn this fire down a little bit, so it's a little less blazing hot. Mostly the butter's burning, because butter has not a super high burn temperature. So if you want to blast the fire a bunch, you're better off using oil, you know? Which I did not do. So. Alright, well that part of the pan is now buttered. We're going to just pour some of this right there. There we go. That's looking like a real pancake batter success. So, you know, first two, worst two, you could say. This one's going to come out good. This one, well, it needs probably a fair amount more cooking, and it's already... Eric, you pancake ruiner. Is that what you want to do? You want to go around and spend your life ruining pancakes? Try to be better, Eric.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Thanks, darling. I was watching Adam, who's a travel YouTuber. Well, I wouldn't just call him a travel YouTuber. He fits in the general category of pleasantcore. But what's to note here is that he went to Japan, made some videos there, and he was kind of obsessed with these pancakes that they sell in Japanese 7-Elevens. As far as I know, you don't get pancakes in America at 7-Eleven. But in Japan, you do get pancakes at 7-Eleven. And apparently they're very good. Maybe it's because like everything else is, you know, sea urchin with daikon radishes, and you just want some breakfast. Okay. These ones are not great pancakes either. Let's not lie to ourselves. But greatness awaits, okay? Because the fourth pancake, wow, that pancake's going to be really good. First three showed some early season growing pains, and that's okay, you know. We don't need to be perfect right out the gate. We're a mere 3 pancakes in, and we still haven't gotten it right. That's fine.
It's all right.
That's fine. We're going to get it this time. One of the reasons we haven't got it right is because instead of using water like it said, we used the much more viscous, fat-free half and half. So, these pancakes are not being made as designed, because I don't believe in using water with pancake mix.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
It's not what it should be.
Oh, that's okay, darling. Just because I'm doing it differently than the package says doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. It does mean that they're going to be better because they're made with milk. I just have to get it right, maybe. Alright, that's going to be a nice thin pancake with this nice wet pancake batter. And you see it bubbling right up. That's what it's supposed to look like. That's perfect. Now, granted, the viscosity coming out of that, that's awfully watery. But because it's not watery, but half and halfy, actually, I think it turned out perfect. So everybody, we've got some good news. We've got a pancake that appears as though it's going to be a success here. After 3 failures. Our failures are still edible. They didn't become poisonous just because they're too thick. But, you know, they're going to be kind of doughy in the middle. Kind of overcooked on the outside, undercooked in the middle. Alright, that seems about right. It's not done enough yet. Just flip. Don't try to force it, Eric. Just give it a little bit more time. Patience, my son. Patience. I'm not my own son, Eric.
Eric said you gotta wait to see the bubbles before you flip. You know that.
Right, well, I thought I did see the bubbles, and I thought I saw them pop, but this one is extra wet, so it's kind of sticking to the bottom of the pan. I also didn't really, I put it, like, the butter's all been soaked up from the other pancakes, so it's not as non-sticky as it used to be. Oh, shit. Okay, I gotta go. I forgot about Chloe. I gotta work with Chloe right now. So thanks for being here. Love you all, and have a wonderful evening and a happy new year.